It's Six Flags Mulch in Longwood. If you're looking for...
Okay, let's analyze this for a second. You just burst into to laugh share.
Yeah.
What's so funny?
Because I was about to say all the rocks.
They got more than rocks.
Yeah. And
if you need rocks, they got them. If you don't need rocks, well, probably not the place.
They got fish.
Yeah. If you need fish, they got them, but they're not a butcher. These are not eating fish.
No,
these are looking fish.
Yeah. Rocks and fish.
It's Six Flags Mulch.
Oh my God.
With rocks and looking fish.
We're leaving it. Hold on. We can save it.
Okay. I don't think this one's savable.
Yeah.
I already ejected. I'm parachuting down, and I'm waiting for the government to come pick me up.
They're BDM owned.
Uh-oh. The village got me. They're beating me now. No, I'm dead.
They're right there in Longwood, sixflagsmulch.com. We say all the rocks because Samantha just got rocks.
Yes.
I got rocks for drain.
See, I don't need rocks, but I am in the market for some looking fish.
Yeah. Or soil. They got bagged soil for plants.
Yeah, they got everything.
Yeah.
Also, they will deliver if you are within their delivery range, and they also they have bagged rocks and mulch now. Before they just had, where they'd come to your house, loose. You either fill up a truck or whatever. Now they have bags, which I got, which was convenient for me.
Yeah.
And on their website,
you got nice bags.
They have a bulk coverage calculator, so you can put in what product you need, whether it's mulch, rock, soil, or pine straw, and then you put in the measurements of the area you're trying to cover, and they will tell you how many bags you need.
A lot of bags.
That is all
massive.
Samantha's good at commercials.
We should just let her do it.
She actually gives out the information.
She pulled it up.
She did. Yeah, she got the information. She gave it out.
Sam.
We just screamed all the rocks and then laughed.
Well, I just said you got big bags. I did nothing.
And speaking of the fish, the koi fish, I went by there and they have.
Are you gonna do it, bro? You doing the koi pond? You want to so bad.
They got those raccoons though.
He mentioned
the raccoons will eat the koi fish.
Can you do an inside koi pond?
Yeah,
a Kobe restaurant.
Yeah.
In your jacuzzi tub.
Yeah,
Dude, that's what you do. You do it next to the jacuzzi tub. You lean over, maybe flick a couple golden grams in there for them to pack on.
They got too hot.
I boiled them.
Anyway.
Put your feet in the koi pond, let them eat your toes like they do at those, the manicure places.
They got aquascape, water features, fountains, 4 koi ponds, and other fountains indoor. They have a bunch of different things. Check them out online. They're in Longwood. It's sixflagsmulch.com. Welcome back to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan, and buddy, it's Fringe Week. It's Fringe time.
Yes.
We did this. How many years have we done this now where we go and we get to talk to all these crazy Fringe folks?
It's 3, I would say.
I want to think it's more than that. No, I think COVID ate one of your years. I think this is our 4th year.
Okay, yeah.
I think you did what I was about to do, which is like to have the virus steal an entire year. But yeah, we get to do it again. And I love it when we get a full week of getting to talk to super creative, artsy people that do amazing things. And we're just going to go ahead and start our first, I guess, group of Fringers is it's going to be the Orange Venue. And Sam, when is this? The 21st?
Yes, it kicks off Friday, May 21st, and goes through Sunday, May 30th.
Indeed, and this is on the line with us right now. If you're looking, and I say on the line, they're not really on the line. They're on the Zooms. They're in the bottom left-hand corner if you're watching on Twitch and YouTube. We have Blue Star and Joyce
Arbusius. God damn it!
You messed it up.
Why'd you do that to me?
I wasn't gonna do it to him, but it's what I always do. I always do that joke to you, and I only did it to you because when I looked down at her last name and she just taught us how to say it, I couldn't remember how to say it correctly.
And I was like, how was it again? I'm like, oh, thank God Daniel's doing it because I forgot 1 second after she told me.
And then right when he said, thank God Daniel's doing it, I said, watch this. And then I pointed at you.
Arbusius.
That was well done.
All right, there it is. Arbusius.
But for those of us around here, we know Blue Star. I mean, she's always doing something, changing venues, in the paper, out of the paper, putting this on, has this group, has this venue here, has this thing going on there, dancing and doing all of that. So we know her. But Joyce, nice to meet you. I've never met you before, and welcome to our show. And thanks so much for being on here, guys.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So tell us a little bit about your particular performance. Alchemist of Dreams is at the Orange Venue. $12 gets you in. Don't forget, you need a button before you purchase your tickets. That's the way it works. But tell us a little bit about this and how you guys decided to put this on.
talk about being a long time in the making. We actually were creating this for last year's Fringe Festival for 2020, and we started writing it together. Joyce and I have history of making shows together, and we've worked on a couple of big projects. I've worked with her in Imagination House, fortunately, and then we created Winter Blue at the venue, which was awesome, an outdoor experience that was just awesome. So we had decided, because Joyce is finally able to produce, because she's spent many years working with the Fringe.
Yeah, I was the president of the board for a few years, and I still work with the board. And so, so we've been doing shows together for a long time, and we had this idea, 2 years ago or more, and we started working on this, and we're really gung-ho for last year's Fringe. And then, that thing happened.
Yeah.
That thing. Yeah, we were literally like in production rehearsal, and we did the shutdown. And I remember Joyce and I sitting outside in her backyard, and we were like, well, you know what? We're just going to hunker down for 2 weeks.
Yeah, we did that too.
This will probably blow over.
Yeah, we did that too.
Yeah, totally.
And the myriad
we said pass the track. Just listen to the music. Everybody get it in your head. We'll be back in rehearsal soon.
Yeah. That didn't happen.
No.
Literally like shut the book on it until we realized that Fringe was going to happen this year, which was super exciting for us. And we started to look at the script again and started creating again, which was magical. I think the show is... it's interesting because it touches on a lot of real life situations that we didn't even know. Joyce is the wordsmith and the brains behind the script and molding things together. She's done a really great job of storytelling, and then I throw the music and the dance on top of it. But when we got done with this version, we realized
it's a really fun show. We love the show. Because we produce and direct shows for a living, both of us. This is a fun opportunity for us to collaborate. And it's also great because normally, for me anyway, my company, we're often working for a corporate boss, so to speak. So we're working for somebody who's hired us to do a show for them.
Right.
We get to play. Yeah. And so the show is about a woman who owns a shop of dreams. And people come there to get a dream, what they think they should get. Sometimes fate and the alchemist give them something different.
Yeah. Kind of like the dream. Sometimes like, when you're dreaming and you wake up and then you try to go back to the dream and the dream's gone.
Yeah, lucid dreams. Yeah. Okay, what's interesting about this is right when you started to describe dreams, via the power of Zoom, Zoom decided to dream away. So everything that I knew was so cleverly crafted and perfectly said was just a... and so we're like, no, we need the goddamn dreams. Give us the dream.
That's pretty much one of the feelings that you get too. I mean, we have all sorts of, dreams that don't make sense, which we often encounter in life. Dreams that you that emulate real life. Dreams that I love dreams of flying. We have dreams of, one of my favorite things that we were talking about before is like, my happy place is underwater. So that's a really beautiful dream that happens. And Jack Krieger is kind of our lead in that one. And so you kind of get that sense of safety that water presents, at least in my case.
Sure.
That's really cool.
And with all of this and like the dancing and the writing and everything are involved in this, is there a burlesque element or element to this? Because it sounds very much like a Cirque du Soleil kind of a dream, very much I'm going to watch this thing and almost transport myself to a dream stage, if you will.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. I'm into it.
For sure. I mean, because Blue Star, and I speak about her like it's not me, is synonymous with burlesque. There is a little burlesque element, but sure. I think what people tend to forget is my dance background and my ballet background of being a principal dancer for the early part of my years. And that theater is truly my first love. So yes, Tamisha Harris, aka Tush, which you know from Josephine, will be emulating that burlesque character. However, there's certainly a fun twist that goes along with it. So yeah, there'll be some pasties, but not really, because we definitely want to share this with as much of an audience as we can. So it's emulated there, and there's definitely a nod, but not married to.
Gotcha. That's cool. You can still influence, but not fully go in. I get it. Yeah, I like that.
I want to ask you guys about dreams. I know that you're not dream experts, but I'm sure you, because the show is has that theme. I have a weird relationship with dreams because I don't have them.
This is all true, by the way, which is why he... And I'm not going to use this word, but there's a word that starts with H that he flings around about dreams a lot because he can't dream.
Well, no, I hate hearing about Daniel's dreams because it's all nonsense, and he's describing to me some sort of fantasy.
I got good ones,
and I'm listening and shaking my head like, yes, okay, you believed you were this was happening. It's all just some imagination, or like this happening. Anyway, but my own relationship with dreams, I don't have any at all, and my wife only has nightmares. Literally has, when she dreams, it's only in nightmare
it's like
form.
Negative, yeah.
So I don't have any positive experience with good dreams.
This is why you need to go to this.
And I can imagine that like people have really good, satisfying dreams that they wake up the next morning like, wow, I had such an adventure. Like I can't even wrap my brain around. I think, well, how is that possible?
Do you guys have vivid dreams in your real lives? Can I ask that? It's a personal question.
Oh yeah, for sure. Sometimes you wake up and then you think you woke up, but you're actually still dreaming.
Yes.
And you have to kind of go back into the space. And we touch on that too. Because there's a little bit of nightmare. There's a little bit about isn't dreaming like your brain just kind of working through stuff apparently? So like there's a little bit of that too. There's, what are you working through? Or what did you think you wanted to work through? But your brain had a totally different plan.
And I will say, in your defense, you know what they say about people that don't remember their dreams, that they're actually dreaming, but they're just extremely smart people. You know that, right?
Yeah, you should start.
That's not the case. That is how.
That's not where I thought you were going.
I'm trying to throw him a bone here.
That's not where I thought you were going.
Is there another theory? That first theory, can't be
Blue,
true.
you're so sweet. He's unhelpable. You're helping him and doing a vaudeville skit, and he's like, nope, not the case, ma'am. Not the case.
I think I'm dead inside. I think that has something to do with it. Also, the fact that I only want to live my life like a computer logic, where that I refuse to let my brain fantasize about anything.
You know what's interesting about what you guys are doing here, and with Alchemist of Dreams, and again, Orange venue, $12, 13 and up. It starts on Friday the 21st, goes until the 30th. Orlando, what is it? Fringe.org?
OrlandoFringe.org.
OrlandoFringe.org. I messed that up, but didn't. I got all the words there, just not in the right order. But here's what I would say. I'm studying like this in a book about dreams, and there are people right now, it's really big, like meditation is, for me it's new, for a lot of people it's huge and can really be a benefit to their life. And there are people that say, Tom, that you can reach a state of meditation where you can access your dreams, and every dream you have will be a lucid dream that you are not only participating in the adventure, but you are able to control the adventure. Like you are able to get inside your dreams and control them, and that's like the goal. So like this, man, I might have to check this out because I'm kind of getting in this whole meditative thing. Is that something that you guys handled it all in here, or have you ever had one of those lucid dreams where you actually felt like you were in control?
I mean, we talked about lucid dreaming. The other piece that we didn't mention, and another character in our show, is fate. Because a lot of times we are really set on dreams and we really think we know what we want, but fate has a different idea. And so things sort of take you in a little different direction.
Yeah, I like when you were saying that the alchemist, sometimes it's like you're coming to the dream shop to buy a dream. And I'm just imagining this, but I'm a weirdo and this is where my mind goes. So Tom, you tell me if you thought of this.
Okay.
Like the alchemist, like, that's a crafty character because you're not going to get the dream you think you need. You're going to get the dream you really need.
Okay.
Exactly.
Oh man, then I'm coming. I gotta go because this sounds like this totally put a top hat on me and I'll fly in the dreams.
Well, it's like Total Recall. You go to the corporation that gives you the vacation that you paid for.
Yes.
You're like all in your mind. I wonder if we'd ever reach a point where you could be given some sort of drug or be put into some sort of state where you could get into some sort of REM of sleep where then you can they can somehow chemically and mentally stimulate your brain enough where you could be in a lucid dream, because that is basically fantasy, right? Like being able to be into a fantasy that you can control a fantasy world.
It's not a fantasy. Here's the difference, because I'm reading this book about it's in that Comfort Crisis book I'm reading. So that they say that your mind cannot tell the difference. So if you can execute things properly within your dreams, it's not a fantasy. You're actually executing it because your mind is everything, right?
Now, I think I have a couple of answers to those. Number one, there's always shrooms. You're welcome. And then number two, I do a form of therapy called EMDR. It's a eye movement desensitization reprogramming. And I would say that it's probably the closest that you can get without any sort of medication, quote unquote, if you will, that actually will put you into that dream state, almost like that hypnotic state. And you can retrain your brain. Like I do it for PTSD and trauma. And so I go back into some scenarios and basically put myself into that dream state and then kind of control the ending or the outcome so that you heal yourself. So that's probably the closest thing that I can do it. And it definitely shows itself in the show a little bit because it's been really important to me for my progress and healing.
Nice.
And I think, that's important to understand too. You're right. I mean, that dream state, which you've never experienced.
You're really missing it. It's so great.
I've had dreams before, but it's like I don't as in my adult life is few and far between. You know, like it just doesn't. I don't remember.
Well, that's because you get blacked out drunk at night.
It could be the alcohol.
I don't know
lot
if you
of
guys,
THC.
I don't know if you guys have a medical marijuana license, but
That's great.
it will kill your dreams.
You think it would enhance them, but that's just
too stoned to dream. I got nothing.
That's our sequel. This
is very interesting. Kudos, guys. This is cool because I love the idea of dreams because to me it's both. And here's what I like about it is I love the imagination aspect of it. I love the idea that in my dreams I can do anything I want. But there's also this part of me, and I'm a hypochondriac. I got OCD. I got so much anxiety and stress problems. But there's a very sinister and scary part of dreams. That uncontrollable, kind of like what you were saying with your wife. Those still count as dreams, but she has some pretty vivid dreams about some pretty scary stuff, like going off a ravine or can't get out of a car, like the windows. It's terrifying, but like
family dying or me cheating on her is a very that happens. I was like,
which is that actually in there?
Then she wakes up mad at me in real life, and I'm just like, all right, this makes zero sense.
That's true.
Stop cheating on her, bro.
That's what she says.
I've actually talked to his wife on a day when she had a dream that he cheated on her, and she will not talk.
It affects her.
She won't talk to him. She'll be like, "This son of a bitch."
That's terrible. That is terrible. We actually have those dreams, the dreams that make no sense. It's a really cool part of the show that is just like whacked out. We call those varieties moments. Varieties is almost 20 years old. That's what's really cool about this. And watching the growth of varieties itself has been interesting. But like Katrina Sorcelli is our Dreams That Make No Sense lead there. And she's just whack. I mean, her dancing is incredible. The music is insane. We sat in the studio the other day and really
tweaked it out.
Yeah,
nice.
It's wild. It's like 2.5 minutes of what the F. It's just like I don't even. I think the audience is going to be like, I don't know.
Yeah, I just saw.
But 2 minutes. That was wild. Am I high? Yes.
Those are the shows.
And that's what I always say. If you're not high, then we'll make you feel like you are.
Yeah, those are the shows that I like the best because there's a certain freedom at Fringe that you don't really get anywhere else. And that's why I'm so glad that guys like you, for lack of a better term that everybody's using, like luminaries that we know in the Orlando community, not even Orlando, internationally community, can come to Fringe and kind of be themselves. It's like you're not doing a corporate show at all. You're doing a real show, and all the money goes back to you guys. So I love it. I love it. I love it.
Is this one of the first times you guys have been performing in front of people? Like
question.
we recently did an event. We did our land cruise, and the magician actually, like, it was the first time for him performing in front of anybody in a year, and he's like, man, I got to knock the rust off. He's like, I've done this 10,000 times, but I've never taken such long
He was nervous too because all of his eggs fell out of his pocket. Seriously, and they broke on the floor. And when he got up there, he didn't have any eggs. And I'm like, oh, this guy's effed.
Yeah.
And it was in front of his girlfriend, and she'd never seen him perform before.
How's it work for you guys? Does it you have to like knock some rust off, or?
So we have been fortunate enough because of House. And the team that we have all been performing with us since we opened. So for the past 6 months, these beautiful artists have had the opportunity to perform in a safe space and kind of get their feet wet again. I will say that part has been very challenging. And even for myself, like coming off of 2 hip replacements and then also just like trying to figure life out. And then all of a sudden you're on stage in front of people. And it's a journey that every artist is going to take, and that every artist, that's a through line for Fringe that has never been there before, because, everybody's used to just that, like you said, I've done this 1,000 times. So fortunately, these kids have been performing at House, on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays. Some of them have had their own shows already there. So we're really fortunate in that respect.
Yeah.
However, being in a true theater environment and a 3/4 thrust room, and with true theater people, and not trying to convince people that while they're eating dinner that this is a really cool show that they're watching while they're like just cutting their steak. Yeah, so that's cool to have. The undivided attention of an audience is going to be something collectively that we'll get to experience.
Cool.
And I think on this journey for everybody, I commend these artists because they are really truly putting themselves out there like they never have before. It is probably one of the most vulnerable moments in their career that they have ever had to date. And that's pretty cool. And like I said, it's something that every artist will be sharing. Audience members will be sharing.
Oh, did it?
Well. So I think it's one of those things from COVID that is positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry that the Zoom got a little wonky there right at the end. Thank God it was right at the end.
Yeah.
My God. Thank God we were able to hold, please hold.
Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us today. The Alchemist of Dreams going on at Fringe starts on May 21st.
Yep, Orange venue, $12 are your tickets, but make sure you get a button first, because the thing that drives me crazy are when people don't understand that. So I little button Danny, I yell at people. I'm like, get your buttons first, get your buttons. Once you've done that, then you can get everything else. Hey, guys, thank you so much for the time. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on the big deal, and best of luck. I hope it goes really well for you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, anytime, y'all. Take care. See ya. Well, that was cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Almost seems normal, right? I don't trust it. Is Brian going to give us anything for making the call to DeSantis and freeing up the masks?
Yeah. I worked that in the deal.
Yeah, we worked that in the deal, so you could have a real Fringe.
Yeah. Get your Miller Lite ready.
You were just going to have a regular Fringe. Now you're going to have a real Fringe. Oh, I wanted to talk to you about that. Does that make things harder? It probably does, because everybody's like, confused now. Great. All right.
Well, we got another guest, so we'll be right back with more Corporate Time. Welcome back to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. Samantha's here. Butler's here. Is there anything to plug before we get to our next guest, sir?
I'll just plug Fringe Week.
Yes,
and
the busiest week of our broadcasting lives.
More seats available. Brian just told us they're opening it up. So get your
What
tickets
about
now.
signs? What about masks?
Don't bring it up.
Sorry. What about mask signs? Where are we on that?
But we got some Fringe guests to talk about their show, Arden. We got Amy and Joshua. How you guys doing?
Great.
So tell us about the show.
Okay.
Right? It's a business.
Well, we'll start with that.
I like that, yeah. And then
My mom said, "What's it about?" I said, "It's about an hour long. It's a bunch of different Shakespeare stories and characters, kind of mixed up with some 80s and 90s hits. It's a lot of fun. It's a new story.
A lot of sparkle.
Yeah, a lot of sparkle. It's the gayest thing you'll probably see at Fringe, and that's
Really?
saying a lot.
I like that.
That's impressive.
Hold on a second. If
I am a cross-dresser who travels the world, and it makes me a little homophobic.
that is.
You're making this say is the gayest show at Fringe.
On Earth.
Yes.
Okay.
Lots of sparkle.
All right.
Jazz hands, the whole 9 yards.
When you're going through here and you're selecting like different types of Shakespeare, they're all different types. I mean, in layman terms, different, I guess, specific Shakespeare type of pieces. How do you zero in on the ones that you think would be good or are bad? Did you have to narrow it down? Because
Yeah, so this is actually like the third generation of a show. It started off as You Like It, the musical, so the Shakespeare play
Right.
As You Like It. And our writer, Tyler Scott, basically was like, As You Like It's too limited, and he would keep writing in characters from Midsummer Night's Dream. He'd be like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if it was As You Like It, but we added in Titania, and then it was
Right.
Oberon, and then before we knew it, like, we were no longer there. We were in Arden more than we were in that's
that's
one is set.
interesting because
Yeah.
it's almost like they're almost like all little cities, and you guys can
Yeah.
borrow characters from little.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
usually it's Elsinore for As You Like It, and then Arden, and then there's the magical forest of Midsummer. So that we kind of put them all together. So it's the lovers from As You Like It with the fairies from Midsummer Night's Dream and the witches from the Scottish play.
So you're just like borrowing the best parts and squishing them into an awesome
And
play.
all of the glitter that Amazon had available.
Okay, I like that.
Well,
I like that.
Josh, I wanted to ask you about that because I'm fascinated with how you learned like the art of makeup. Because
even larger
I'm
than
telling
that,
you because
the
I
art
imagine.
Can we get
drag.
Tom and drag?
Well, no, but the
please?
art of drag to
Well,
me,
no,
I
just-
sit there thinking about it, like it
Dude.
seems extremely competitive and very difficult.
Well, the makeup part about it is like that's artistry. Also,
I'm
you
having
have
to
to
do
be like you learn all the techniques over time. How long does that take you?
Yeah.
Well, now I can get into drag in 15 minutes
Yeah,
if I
yeah,
have to. But
That's
when I
fast.
first started, it's like a 3-hour process because when you first start, it's a lot of trial and error. So you paint one side and then you paint the other and you look like you have Bell's palsy. So you have to wipe it off and start all over. But when I started doing drag, there was no YouTube. Like I couldn't go on there and look at the tutorials like, some of the kids can that are
Yeah.
starting right now. And
There are tutorials on how to look like you now.
I know, and that's frightening because I don't even want to look like me most days.
Yeah, and I want to say this correctly because Tom and I don't want to mess it up. Okay, Ginger Minge. When are you only ginger? You see what how do I say that correctly?
I'm
my
always
favorite
ginger.
question.
Okay,
I love
so
this
if I
one.
were to call you Ginger now, that's not disrespectful in any way.
No, I actually prefer ginger because
Let's do that then.
All
Yeah.
right.
there's a lot of bad memories connected with Joshua.
Interesting.
And even though that's a part of me, Ginger is the person that I have created for myself. So
Makes
I prefer
sense.
to be Ginger at all times.
I love
Well, I'm
that.
glad you told me because I did think in my head I was like, well, don't say Ginger Minge because that's inappropriate.
Stage show.
when
Yeah,
you're
we
not-
wanna do it right.
when
We're-
you're-
yeah.
No,
when
I
you're not-
understand. You're not going to go to Tyler Perry and call him Medea.
Right.
I understand.
I do that.
I don't know. We might.
Haven't met Tom.
I scream screaming out at a basketball game. That's how I'm a dumb.
If we were at the Amway and you saw him, you would scream. But that's a fact. You could bet on that.
I do the same thing with Alfonso Ribeiro.
It's Carlton.
I scream Carlton every single time. I cannot do it. And we're watching America's Funniest Home Videos. Carlton.
So let's talk about Ginger. Ginger is you, but Ginger is also like global. Is that weird for you? Is that
It is weird, but it's like a cool weird because like I was telling
It's
Amy this
100%
story.
weird. I'm just going to say that.
Amy has known me since.
I mean, my phone's blowing up
Ginger.
that you're in here. Like, I get blown up, like, for comedians. You know, we could have, like, John Lovitz in here. We had Craig Robinson. You know, like, you're talking top. He's on The Office, for Christ's sake.
Right.
My phone rings more for you. Obviously, we're local, but, like, more people are like, yeah, Ginger Minch is on the show. I'm like, yeah.
Plot twist, I am John Lovitz.
It stinks.
Have you ever gotten like any sort of cameo requests or
On
anything
Cameo.
like? Are you on Cameo?
yeah.
Okay.
I am on Cameo.
I knew. I was like, man, I bet there's something like a lot of people want to hear from you.
I am on Cameo, and it keeps me like God bless it because this whole last year,
It works
it's
then.
what paid my bills.
Are you kidding me? Really?
Absolutely, you know, it was
Hit
it
up
was-
the Cameo, y'all.
Yeah.
It was
give Ginger
really-
some of y'all's money.
It was hard whenever the pandemic hit because, you know, drag queens, we're not in a union. We don't get the government assistance because we're independent contractors. Like, there was no way for me to continue to pay my bills and make money other than Cameo. And I was so grateful for once that it was there.
Yeah.
And like when I'm out on tour and I'm busy all the time, I look at it and I go, oh my God, I have 15 cameos to do and I'm exhausted and I don't want to do them. But during the pandemic, it made me really appreciate that people are that connected that they still want to help and help you put food on the table.
Oh, of course, you know, and it's a cool. It's actually a decent thing. I mean, there's a lot of things you could pay for, but like normally it's something to cheer up your friend or birthday gift or something. I like it. You know, it's cool.
Plus, again, it goes to the artist or whoever's on Cameo.
I don't know
Like,
what cut
obviously,
they take. We tried to get on there for our listeners, and they denied us. They said, you're not,
Well,
you're not
here's
famous
the real tea about that. So if they book it through the website, you're fine because the cut's small. But if they book it through the app, then you lose a lot of money.
No, really.
Yeah. So if you book mine, please book it through the website, not the app.
No, that's good to know.
Or contact you
interesting.
directly and give all the. Because I'm sure you can send them a PayPal like $200 on PayPal.
Yeah.
The PayPal takes their damn cut. But I'm curious with Cameo, like, did you feel pressure to only do it with your full makeup and everything on?
that's a good question.
Or could you do it?
I'm one of the few queens who will only do it when I'm fully done.
Okay.
Because I feel like you're paying for that product. You want that. It should be something that's special.
Yeah.
Not me rolling over in bed with my hair a mess.
Most
going-
celebrities do that.
Yeah,
You're
they
a
do.
fat
They do.
Bam Margera that goes hungover and he's at an airport. He's doing his Cameo. I'm like, oh, this stinks. I want jackass Bam Margera.
I think those days are long gone.
Alcoholic graybeard Bam Margera sad.
It's getting sad. Yeah. No,
But I remember looking through like some of the other Drag Race girls. I was going through their cameos when I
Sure.
first started just to kind of get a gauge on what I needed to do. And there was one who literally rolled over in the darkness, just the light from her phone, completely out of drag, going. She literally said, "Girl, you woke me up from this nap, but I need this money before it expires. So happy birthday, bye." And I'm like, first of all, I would never charge what they were charging because that's insulting. And second of all, like, put a little effort into. Oh, I can't say that.
you're fine.
Okay,
We can fix it.
Put some effort into it because, like, this is a special moment. Like, yeah, it's an everyday run of the mill thing for you. You do this all the time, but this is like the one time that they get to do it.
God, that's a really... Now, okay, then it all makes sense because then I look at your career and I look at the number of times you've been on Drag Race. I look at your music, unreleased album.
I have 2 unreleased albums.
One
that
of
are
them,
coming out
Tom,
this
and
year.
you're already editing Sam. I think it's called Clown.
Well,
awesome.
There's a song called Clown. But
Yeah.
the album's name is Gummy Bear.
Either way, I'm down with both. I'm a hairbow boy, and I love to see clowns
I
get
am
it.
too. I love gummy bears.
all right.
It's like my thing.
Oh, very
I love
cool.
them. They're delicious.
I want to ask you about
Sorry,
because when we had Wanzi in here, he was telling us about like he's like there's a generation gap
The transition of Orlando,
or just
a
how, like
little bit.
how much harder he had it and all the stuff he went through, and he's like talking about like he's like the younger generation doesn't know what we went through to make this possible for them today, and they're like, I found it interesting because of course like things were so much different 10 years ago. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like things have changed 5 years ago. Like although 5 years ago seemed worse. But anyway, so do you find is there some sort of difference with like younger people that like younger drag queens as compared to you, and you like had it so much harder than they did, and they can't understand it, or like is there anything like that?
Well, I think that's kind of a double-edged sword because I went into season 7 of Drag Race with that mindset. Like I was doing this before it was cool. I remember having to park in the ditch across the street from the bar and literally ditch people throwing rocks at me while I was running into the bar.
Right.
I remember that, and then working for 2 drink tickets and $25. But I also feel like it has its own set of issues now because now it's on such a mainstream global platform that you have to think that every time you open your mouth or you step outside the door or you turn that phone on, you are putting yourself in the position of being a mentor or a mouthpiece for all of these younger kids that are watching you. And that was something that really clicked in my head after season 7. I started touring. I still get these messages every day in my inbox from people like me, these little queer kids from podunk nowhere that are going, oh my gosh, I thought I was alone in the world. I had no clue that there was anybody like me, and then I saw you on TV.
And you're Lakeland? Lake County?
I'm from Leesburg.
You're from Leesburg.
I'm from Leesburg.
Wow.
Actually,
oh my God,
well,
Leesburg?
I'm not even from Leesburg. I claim Leesburg because it's the big city. I'm from Umatilla. They're probably my relatives. There's only 12 of us there.
I got family in Umatilla. We had an aunt or great aunt who was in a nursing home.
You could hang out there 6 months ago, no mask.
Umatilla.
They've been open for.
They just got news the virus has hit. It just happened.
And they don't care.
My God, Umatilla. Who would have known? And it's such a good. That's also, I mean, a good drag queen name for me. Umatilla. I'm Umatilla Dennis. That's not bad. That's pretty good. I might have to roll with that. You look shocked.
Umatilla is the John Boat of Florida.
Yeah, it is.
It's the boogie board of Florida. I think you're being very generous over there. But no, I think that now there's just a lot more pressure to make everything that you do count. 15 years ago, we could show up to the club and just play whatever's on whatever you play. I'll show up in my little stretch dress and I'll do it. And now, every time you hit the stage, at least I feel there's got to be a message. There has to be a reason, because you are. I know it sounds so stupid, but you are kind of ministering to the people who need something from you.
Yeah, I think it only sounds stupid if you don't want to help people, and a lot of people out there don't. Mm-hmm. So maybe they would agree, but I agree
wish
with you.
that I had help when I was growing up.
Yeah,
I wish that I had that. So now I take that responsibility very seriously.
That's great, and you also, it's also cool that you're doing it in kind of a profession that you can still have fun. You can still be blue and crass and have your jokes and have a good time, but at the same time you can still be inspiring and inclusive and sweet and just be good to people. I miss going before kids, man. I used to hit drag brunches all the time because the entertainment's always better and the food.
I remember you used to come to Bananas when I was working there years ago.
Well, Andrea had a really good buddy she worked at Old Navy with, who was a drag queen. I'm blanking on her name. Very, very, very large drag queen. Beautiful, though. And the roller skates, I loved all of it. It was just so much fun. And then they would hit on me, and I loved it. I just said, why? Who doesn't like that? It's just fun.
I'm curious.
Well, I liked you because you were my height.
Yeah, we're little guys. Now, did you coin the term? I think I got this from your website because I wanted to steal this for myself with my wife. Glamour toad.
Yes.
Have you heard that?
No.
How good is that?
Pretty good.
Well, and it's because I've always felt glamorous and beautiful in drag, but I've never felt pretty. And
you are.
No, I'm not a pretty person. I'm just not, and I'm okay with that. And I think that there's power in saying you can still be beautiful even if you're not pretty.
Yeah.
So I'm a glamour toad. toad.
It's awesome, dude.
So,
It's so awesome.
This is perfect
I'm a climber toad too.
for my next. I'm gonna start calling you that for sure.
Hey, please.
But
It's an honor.
But I'm curious, and this kind of goes into my next question. Have you, because traditionally, and I'm not sure if this is 100% right, because I don't know that much about like traditional drag shows, but I think that you guys like and drag shows in general like push the limit and go far, right?
Why do you think I go there?
Yeah.
Because the humor is always head and shoulders.
I mean, from talking to Wanzi and stuff, like
it pushes the envelope, and I get bored at regular stuff.
So, I mean, you basically will just, say things that are not appropriate. I think, have you guys got pushback from a
like
culture?
PC culture?
Oh
PC
my God,
culture.
of course.
All right.
Every single day.
Yeah. It's
Every
funny
day
because I
now.
bet you people that don't know, like, wouldn't think that you get any pushback because they're like, oh, that I'm lumping that all together because I'm ignorant and I don't know. You know,
Yeah,
that happens. Like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
believe me, I'm ignorant too. Like, oh, a drag queen would never get like pushback from PC culture because they're all together or something.
Yeah.
That's how people would think.
Well, and that's how it was for a lot of years. And that's kind of how I grew up in drag. And RuPaul has always said, and I truly believe it's true, every time she bats her eyelashes, it's a political statement. And I have always felt like drag queens have always kind of been at the forefront of every big change in the community. They're the first ones out there in the front lines fighting and raising money and helping. And the way to kind of do that is to open up the conversation. And what better way to open up the conversation than with humor, than by poking fun at it so that people go, ha ha ha, oh wait, maybe that is serious. And that's kind of how I grew up in drag. But now there's been a culture shift within the last few years where they're holding drag queens to a much higher standard, and they want us to all be completely politically correct. And while I do think that that's great, there's some things that, maybe we took too far and we should change. I also don't want it to get to the point where we're not opening those conversations and we're not shedding light on these subjects in a fun way that makes people go, okay, let's talk about this.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's kind of like your intent is to have an open conversation and say shocking things and things for comedy purposes, or like
if you can get it to that point, then maybe you can have a serious conversation about it. If you can have a funny one about it, then maybe after the funny one you could have
exactly like ha ha ha. Okay, now let's talk about that.
Yeah, now that we've already had it touch our lips, I get it. Let's real quick. I just want to give you a plug one more time. Arden, Silver Venue. These are what you need to know. I'll give it real quick. Buy your button. Arden's the show you want to see. In fact, I think Sam's orchestrating something in the chat room. Are you guys buying a block of tickets?
We're looking to get a block for one of the dates.
Hey, buy them up because they'll go fast. $12. It's $12 at the Silver Venue. It starts on the 19th. And okay, here's my.
And it's one of the best things I've ever done. And I do not give praise highly for anything, especially if I'm in it.
Best
but
and gayest, guys.
Yeah.
You gotta go.
It is so fantastic. The set's great. The costumes are great. And these kids that are in this show with us are so insanely talented. I came in kind of after they were working on all of their stuff. And I just sat down like, okay, let's see what I'm in for over the next 2 months. And they did one of their numbers and my jaw was on the floor. I was
That's
like,
great.
Okay, I need to step it up now.
Yeah.
Now I really need to learn my lines. I really need to learn this choreography.
You're almost there.
Almost.
Now, why? Let's throw this out there because I know, Sam, you probably have a ton of questions, and I don't want to kill their entire date. How big did you playing Ursula live action Little Mermaid? How big did that get? That got big, right?
It got a lot bigger than most people realize.
Can you tell us how big it got?
Yeah, because it's not a thing anymore. So
it should, because
it should have been, and it almost was. I actually made it very far in the process.
So live action Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen Ginger perform.
We were watching in the office.
I mean, is there another Ursula?
No one does it better.
I don't think there is. I think you are like.
Well, and if you ever wanted to see me as Ursula, come see me as Titania, because my Titania in Arden is
it's
Ursula.
Right.
Yeah.
Grab me a
purple,
ticket,
white hair,
Sam.
all of it.
Yeah, man, I'm 100% in. I'm good for good buzz and watch some good entertainment, man. We're open, baby.
Yeah.
But it got very far, and it really kind of came down to the fact that the markets outside of the U.S. had a problem with the drag aspect of it. They didn't really want to get behind that. So they ended up giving it to Melissa McCarthy instead, which is fine because I love her.
Yeah.
And I know that I will end up playing Ursula at some point in my life. It's just destined to be.
Yeah, 100%. I'm curious, has there been any social media platform that you've stuck to more than another? Because it's like, because each of them now, as time goes on,
Different
now
flavors
have their like social meaning and their generational the audience.
Yeah,
and stuff.
you may have just nailed it. It's like each one is a different generation digging their heels in.
Mm-hmm.
Like Facebook is the I guess
trying to teach Ginger how to do Snapchat. It's not going well. It's not going well.
Well, I was promised nudes, and I'm not getting any. So, mine is my Twitter is kind of my social media drug of choice.
Okay,
because I like to talk to people. I like to communicate. To me, like that's what social media should be about. Particularly during this pandemic, over this last year, it was the one way I could really kind of keep in contact with the fans that have become friends. You would think Instagram would be good for me, but I'm just not a visual person. I know it sounds so silly because I'm a cross-dresser, but it's just not interesting to me.
Sure.
Like,
the communication
you have to be
aspect,
into it. Like,
I do it because I need to do it career-wise, and I have fun with the pictures that I take, but there's really no communication there.
Yeah, we do it. We've been kind of dabbling in TikTok, a little bit, but I can't really.
My husband started a TikTok for me.
Oh, nice.
And I didn't even know I had one for like the first month, and he was like, "Oh, you got verified today." I said, "On what?" He said, "TikTok."
Yeah.
I didn't even know it
I
started
think I
one.
linked to you. You
But
can thank your husband for it. Yeah, say, hey, thank you so much.
He literally just follows me around, and like when I do stupid shit, he just films it and puts it on TikTok.
Wait a minute.
And he's like, hey, you're at 200,000 views. He's like, for what?
My God, that's what Andrea does for me. I am a glamour toad.
You are.
This is awesome.
I'm your new drag mother.
You really are.
Excuse my ignorance because I just don't know, but I'm curious and I want to know. Like in the drag world, do other people imitate the Ginger Minge as far as like they take the persona like or is that frowned upon or like you know what I'm saying? Do they imitate you and then call themselves?
That's kind of a good question because I don't know how that works either because I bet you there could be some stepping on toes there if things are too similar or too close or
there's a lot of people who will take the last name and then start to claim, oh yes, I'm Ginger Minge's daughter and stuff, but there's no other Ginger Minge.
Do you know what Minge is?
No, I don't.
It is the Mongolian word for beaver.
Is it? All right, I like
Ginger Minge means fire crotch.
Oh God! Yeah. I just was curious if that was like it's like in the stand-up world was the equivalent of like stealing someone's like a joke or something like
now people will steal my material all the time and not just mine. I mean there are up-and-coming queens who see stuff on YouTube or they come to the shows and they see it and they go oh yeah okay I can do that, I know I can do that, and they kind of borrow the material or they borrow the look or the outfit or the wig or whatever until they kind of come into their own.
Gotcha.
I mean, and that's really kind of what drag is about. It's just self-expression. I've never called myself a makeup artist. I'm an artist who uses makeup. And that's simply because it's the best expression of what I feel like inside is who Ginger is. And if I have to use hair and costumes and makeup for that, then so be it.
The stage, you're doing Arden, and you say it's one of the greatest things you've ever done. Mm-hmm. Any more Drag Race stuff, or is that, you
who knows?
Because you did digital, right? You did a couple of those?
Yes, I do have another digital drag fest show coming up. Oh gosh, next month sometime. I don't know. Maybe it's the end of this month. Yeah. But it's our tribute to Disney, so it's like a big twisted Disney show. It's a lot of fun, good green screen work there.
Yeah.
I've got a podcast that's coming out soon with Trinity the Tuck from Drag Race as well.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, there's just so much going on. Like I do the Golden Gals live here with our TV Land Live group. So we just did 2 sold out shows of that over in Claremont.
Yeah, I've been hearing really good stuff about that.
It's good. It's fun. Yeah. I mean, who doesn't love the Golden Girls and who doesn't love drag queens? You put them together and it's a great night.
That's a good idea.
And getting to play like older women should be like really fun, I think. Can you get away with more?
Well, I just love when people say,
"Are you Sophia?"
Oh no, I'm Blanche.
You're Blanche.
I'm
yeah,
Blanche.
Yeah. You're like the.
Well, and people are always like, "So, like, do you watch the show a lot and try to like mimic Rue McClanahan?" I was like, "No, I'm just playing my mother down to the haircut." Amy has been to my house many times over the last 15 years. She knows my mother very well. She can attest to the fact.
That's super cool.
Well, Ginger Minge, Amy Bates, thanks so much for coming in. The show's Arden. It starts Wednesday, May 19th.
I don't know what day we're going, but we're going out there. So
yes. Silver venue. Just get your full pass. Get the bracelet.
I probably should have told you this.
Please.
Just like a little bit of trivia. I started drag at the Orlando International Theater Fringe Festival.
Really?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
That's where I started. So it's full circle for
God,
me.
it only took you 15 years to be globally famous. Oh man, we're
What
bad
are
at
you
this.
guys doing?
We're so not talented. My God.
We're not even famous in utility. And that's our core audience.
And I'm a toad.
Well, thanks, guys. We
Yeah.
appreciate it. Again, OrlandoFringe.org. Just get your tickets, get your passes. The easiest thing to do.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you tomorrow. Welcome to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. Samantha's here. Butler's here. The Fisher here. What should we plug? We're bad at plugging, buddy. We do all of these shows, and then we forget to tell people where they can connect with the show.
I'll plug the hookups page
I like that.
on tomanddan.com. There's a bunch of hookups, small businesses, large, small, medium, all across
large, small,
Florida.
and medium.
Yeah, we have them all
everywhere.
now. We used to only have small and medium. We now have large businesses on there.
And
Impressive.
they all have Tom and Dan discounts. So go in there if you need anything.
Yep.
Check there first because there's a lot of different products and services that offer discounts to Tom and Dan
It's
listeners.
kind
out
of
there.
like a scummier Angie's List.
Uh-huh.
That's what not the businesses, us.
And if
That's
you're
the
Right,
reference,
right.
yeah.
and if you want to advertise on Hookups page, it's $50 a month.
We should have called it Tom and Dangy's List.
Yeah, okay, that would have been better.
Let's do that.
You know
Tony,
what? Let's
change the
scrap
name.
hookups.
Yeah.
Got
Butler,
it.
Tom and Dangy's List.
Start over from the beginning.
Start over. Oh my God, Butler! Why is Butler naked?
So let's do it. Let's,
Oh God, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
Is that the
weird job.
thing? I got to find the button. Where's the one that says weird job on it?
Button. Who's got the button?
Tom wanted to do a bit. He called it Weird Job Wednesday. Dan really likes it. Tom says that's bullshit. It's another Weird Job Wednesday. What are you doing? What is your job? Are you neat? Are you tidy? Or are you a fat slob? Do you make lots of money and you sit up in your tower looking down on all the people who are working by the hour? It's a Weird Job Wednesday. Just another Weird Job Wednesday. Oh yes, it's Weird Job Wednesday. Just another Weird Job Wednesday. Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Weird Job Wednesday brought to you by Streamline Florida. If you want to refi or you need a mortgage and you need someone to do it right and give you that customer service and make sure it's done right and done
Well, it can be
efficiency.
scary. Yeah, it can be like really, really scary when you go to do that. And whether you're getting pre-qualified for a home that you want to buy, and good luck now because it's crazy. You're going to have to go to Streamline and get that started. If you don't, well, I mean, it may not. Like you said, it may not get handled correctly. I have refied twice.
Yep.
Took some money out, got some floors in my home. You actually are going to pay off your home a lot faster because you're taking advantage of the rates.
Refied to 15-year, took my mortgage insurance off, and my payment wasn't that. And I took some equity of the house to pay some things off. And
Well, you had the, it was like the, you had a couple of those jet skis you bought?
Oh, yeah. Some jet skis. And
I was
going
to say something else there, and what you heard the stutter there was me backing off on a joke that I was going to say that was going to be horrible.
Yeah, I bought Doge at 71 cents. I was like, it's never going to go lower than this. It's to the moon. It says it.
I was going to say...
the T-shirt says it.
I was going to say you bought an old teen from Greenberg.
Yeah, I read an article that Mark Cuban has... $1,500 worth of Doge, so it must be good. I'm like, that makes sense.
If it's Doge, it's got to be good.
Like, it's not even much as a shoelaces cost. Anyway, let's get our contestant.
Here, I can play the song again if you want.
No. What's your name, Nutella?
Her name is
Michaela.
Not Nutella. Oh my
sorry,
God.
Michaela.
No, Michaela.
How you doing?
Yeah, Michaela.
Oh, Sam got it wrong. She was calling you Michaela.
I thought that's what she
Is it?
said.
Hey, that's okay. I get a lot of different versions, and actually everyone just calls me Mac, so you guys can call me
That's
that as well.
easy.
Are you the Daddy Mac or the Mac Daddy?
She's Return of the Mac.
And are you?
A lot of people call me Mac Daddy, Big Mac, mac and cheese, all that type of stuff.
How about Wick Whack Patty Whack? Give a Mac a bone.
I like that one. That's good. I'll throw that out there for
You
others
play, Tom.
to use.
I'm not. So, Mac, what do you do for a living?
All right, so I am a flight instructor, so I teach people how to fly airplanes.
All right.
But I specialize in aerobatics, so I go out and turn upside down, do loops, rolls, all the crazy stuff you guys see in air shows. And I also fly World War II airplanes, so I teach you how to fly stuff from the 1940s.
Now,
Cool.
I'm stereotyping listening to your voice. You don't sound that old. So how does one that is young like you learn to fly vintage World War II aircraft?
Well, you're very sweet. I am 32, so I'm not the youngest out there, but I definitely am on the younger side for warbirds. Really, it was just meeting the right people at the right time. I went to, I don't know if any of you guys are airplane fans, but there's a competition every year called the Reno Air Races, and basically it's like NASCAR in the air. And I went there every year, and I ended up meeting a guy, and he happened to own a warbird flight museum, and I just kind of got in with the right people, and now I'm working for him.
So
Cool.
NASCAR in the sky sounds way better than NASCAR.
Yeah.
Because that's no offense, I like car races. It's not my favorite thing. I like the infield. I like the party. But NASCAR in the sky just sounds extremely dangerous and very scary. Because are these races? I would imagine these are all vintage aircrafts, right? You can't do that with jets.
Actually, there's a bunch of different classes. There is a jet class, and they go about 500 or 550 miles an hour. There's World War II vintage class, which probably tops out around 500, and then there's a T6 Texan class, and they're probably in the 250 range, and then a sport class and Formula One and biplanes. So all sorts of different airplanes, and they are literally passing each other on a course that's about 50 feet in the air. So it's pretty wild. It's awesome.
That sounds awesome.
So, Mac, I got a ton of questions for you, but before we start, it just popped in my head. My favorite new video on Facebook or the internet is videos of like jet fighters, but in other countries where they don't have the same rules and regulations, flying. Like, I'm not even joking, 20 feet off the ground, going like Mach 1 and like through the desert, and like someone's filming it on their iPhone, and this jet comes so fast that you're like, oh my God, it blows. It's like, yeah! And then it basically, dust is coming up off the ground from behind it, and you're like, oh my God, that jet was 20 feet high, and it's going crazy fast. Have you seen those, Mac?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there's no way you'd get away with that in the U.S. We'd have there's a new system out now called ADS-B where literally it's the eye in the sky. It watches you all the time. So if you pull something like that, you're going to get a call from the FAA pretty much same day.
That's why.
That's why I don't have a phone.
I love that they do it in other countries where they don't give a damn.
Yeah.
And they're just effing around with crazy
I
fast
like
jets.
it when they do it in countries and then they call the cops. A cop pulls up in a Lamborghini. I'm like, all right, that's cool.
So, Mac, let's go back to being a flight instructor.
Oh, I thought you were rapping. Hey, Mac, let's go back.
Because my sister-in-law is actually getting her pilot's license, so I've been following her journey through, like, it's been a couple of years now.
Alex has been doing it for a while.
Of her, like, and I think she got her first certification. She took her big test. It was like a solo flight or whatever, but there's so much, like, this is, I mean, we're now into year, like, number 2 of her, like, consistently, like most weekends, taking courses, flying
time in the air.
And then like learning, and I'm like, my God, there's a lot to it now. Obviously, you're flying an airplane, and so, but when she explains it to me, I'm like, could you teach? Because I'm like, could you teach me that faster, like in a 2 weeks time?
There's 2 weeks ago.
So Mac, if your life depended on it, and you gave me 2 weeks, could you teach me how to take off and land like a little one-engine Cessna?
I think that if your life ever depended on anything, that's a very strong motivating factor. So absolutely,
she's a
really
logic woman.
What's the motivation, right? So it really depends on how fast you want to get it done and how much time and money that you can put into it. Because flight training is a huge draw on the wallet.
I think Tom just fell in love with you. It's like the way that you're talking. God, I looked at his eyes. He was like Pepe Le Pew.
She's a pilot. Pilots are logical. They're precise.
She's like, life and death situations will actually ramp up the amount of neurons that are firing. So I would like. I'm like, all right.
But also, you'd actually be really surprised how little of an effort I'd probably give, even if my life depended on it.
You just pay attention.
Like I'm pretty.
He's like a life what?
Anyway, so Mac, the instructor side of things, is there way more money? And does this exist where, like, you get hired by a rich person to be their private instructor, and then it's just like you can set your own rates at that point, or do you have to go through some sort of school where they recommend you? How does that work?
So if you own your own airplane and you want to start a flight school with that, there's obviously a bunch of rules and regulations that you have to follow. But if a really rich dude came up to me and he was like, hey, I have a Cirrus and I want you to teach me how to fly it in 2 weeks because my life depends on it, I would say, well, here's my price and let's get it done. So,
all right.
All business.
Yeah, and then you have the flight schools too, who are the really organized, advanced, like Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, if you all have ever heard of them.
Yeah.
They're a Part 141, so basically that's like going back to college for flying, for flight training.
I want to talk about like vintage aircraft and like. So what's the type of plane that you fly? The World War II plane, like what's it called?
So the one that I teach in is called the T6 Texan, and the history of that is it was the World War II fighter trainer. So men and women of the WASP, Women Air Force Service pilots. They would maybe first be in something like a Stearman, and then they would hop into a T6, which is a more advanced trainer. It's got retractable landing gear, flat, 600 horsepower, weighs about 6,000 pounds. And they would get really good in that, and then they would go hop into P-51s, P-40s, all the stuff that you see. The iconic World War II fighter aircraft would be the next step. So it's the one right before then. It kicks your butt. That's for sure. It's not a hard airplane to fly, but it's unforgiving. So it absolutely will, as my instructor said, it'll slap you across the face if you let it. So
yeah, there's certain
very unforgiving airplane.
There are certain motorcycles that I know and that you've ridden, Tom, that we both ridden. We know the difference between like a nice $20,000 bagger and a $2,000, hardtail that will literally blow your kidneys through your beehole.
Well, I remember my wife had this cockamamie idea where she wanted like a 1982 Yamaha haul street bike, like old school style 80s motorcycle, like road bike. and then I went to go buy this.
Riding this around town with Tommy and the Max on the back of it.
This was 15 years ago when she got her license.
I know, yeah.
She got her motorcycle license. She's like, I want this. And I actually was going to buy her one. I went to go to Craigslist, and I actually met some guy in the parking lot, and I was riding around, and I was like, my God, this thing's a death trap. Like, because, and you...
There's nothing to those.
When you drive old cars and stuff, you forget how you got used to the technology, the luxury of new cars, like how quiet everything is. Like, you drive a car or a motorcycle or anything, so I imagine you fly a plane, and you're like, oh my God, like this thing is dangerous. Like, how does it feel?
Or is there a sense here, let me just throw this on there too. Or is there a sense of calm that you get because it's so rudimentary and simple that it feels maybe less could go wrong?
I would say it can kind of be what both of you guys said, where you worry about things with it being older, and also being a piston propeller aircraft. But then you think about, well, this thing's been around since the 1940s. So obviously they got something right back then. And the fact that there's still, 350, 400 T6s out there flying, that really has something to say for the mechanic side of things. But yeah, you're always on the edge of your seat when you fly airplanes in general. It's a lot of fun, but there is the added whole altitude portion. So, in a car, your engine starts acting up. You pull off on the side of the highway, but in the airplane, obviously, you got to find a place to land. So there's just always that added component.
Have you ever had to emergency land a vintage aircraft?
I have not had to emergency land a vintage aircraft, but I actually had an engine issue before I had my license. So before you have your license, as I think when he was talking about your sister-in-law, I think that she's getting her license, she's soloed and stuff. So you have to do 10 hours of solo time before you get your license. And I was on a long cross country, and one of my fuel sumps broke, and all the fuel drained out. And I actually ended up landing in a field. So I have done that, but it was in a small airplane. It wasn't in the big World War II one, so I'm happy about that.
Well, speaking of that, did you see that in that air show? I believe it was Daytona. They love air shows at Daytona.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a big fan of Daytona lately. So yeah.
So, but did you see that that guy landed that vintage aircraft in the ocean?
I just had to get a snow cone,
and I think it was an expensive problem right there, right?
Yeah, that was the Cocoa Beach Air Show, and it was unfortunately it was an airplane that just got out of restoration about 2 years ago, so it was almost brand new back on the line. And there's a lot of speculation going around right now. Obviously, everyone's talking around the water cooler type of thing, saying, hey, there was smoke coming out of it, and he should have turned back for the airport, but there's no definitive report out yet. So I don't know. Anytime that you have an issue with something like that, though, whether it's an old airplane or a new airplane, like, I'm heading back to the airport. I'm not going to take a chance.
What's the oldest plane that they fly in these shows? Like, do they fly like the World War I biplane style?
I'd like to see somebody use like a demo version of what the Wright brothers had and just kind of glide. I want to see some really old.
Yeah, we actually have one of those hanging from the roof in our museum, one of those really old Demoiselle. Those things are pretty much made out of paper, by the way. They're terrifying. But, yeah, you have World War II or World War I airplanes flying in some air shows. There's not a lot of them out there. They're mostly fabric, so I don't think they hold up very well. But there's a few out there. There's a place in Virginia that has a lot of World War I airplanes, and they put on a World War I show every year. Definitely something to check out.
When you're stunt flying, are there more worries about putting too much stress on the airplane and like the wings breaking off and stuff? Like, it's like you're doing stuff that may not be a normal takeoff and land procedure. You're banking super hard and stuff like. And if a wing does fly off, is there any? Do you have a parachute? Do you have a way to get out? Like, or is it just?
Do you have a small revolver?
Or is it? You're done?
Yeah. So airplanes have something called weight and balance. So before you go fly, you have to make sure that you're under a certain weight, and then also you have to make sure that you're within what's called a CG. So basically imagine the airplane balancing on the tip of a pencil, and that's what the CG is. So you have to make sure that the airplane can be balanced both in the nose portion as well as the tail. And as long as you're within the weight and the balance of the aerobatic category of the plane itself, and you stay within what's called a G limit. So imagine like if you're pulling up and you feel your body getting pressed into the seat, or if you guys have obviously been on commercial airliners when they take off, you're probably feeling about maybe 1.5 to 2 Gs, which basically means take your body weight and multiply that by 2. And that's the forces that you're feeling on your body. So most aerobatic planes are rated up to, let's say, like 5, 6, 7 Gs. And the military airplanes are rated up to 10, 12, 14 Gs. So as long as you stay within those parameters, technically nothing should break off. That doesn't mean that it won't. So obviously you pre-flight before you go out and you check the wings and stuff. But to answer your question about parachutes, absolutely, I'm wearing one. I've been told it's very hard to get out of the back seat because the instructor sits in the back, but I think I'd be, again, highly motivated. And I would shove my student out as quick as I can so that I can get out. Just kind of throw them out the door, basically. And we're all wearing parachutes.
I would do that too. If this studio caught on fire, I would push everybody down and run for the door.
Mac,
everybody.
Yeah.
As I'm listening to you talk, I think like as
female Tom Van.
I've had this conversation with I have this buddy Logic Man. He's a skydiver, and he's now traveling the country like a nomad because he can't find anybody to be with because he's too logical. He's like a GD computer.
Is that what he's doing?
Yeah.
He's doing a cross country quest for love.
He's traveling by himself.
You guys are roasting the hell out of him. Poor Logic Man.
He was in the Grand Canyon by himself.
Tell him to get off a Voxer. I know you guys are being mean to him.
No.
And I love him. We love Andy.
He's in the Grand Canyon talking about Bitcoin by himself.
That sounds terrible.
Because he's too logical to find love. Now, Mac,
you should give him his own reality.
Are you a Logic woman? And
you can't hear it?
Yeah,
She's wearing a parachute right now. She's sitting in an office.
And are you married or are you single too? Because you're too logical.
So the guy I told you guys about that I met in Reno, the air racer, we've been together for about 7 years.
Wow. Another air racer. Yeah. He's trying to find another.
He's like, pull them pants down. Let me see that hair show.
You got to go straight to the top. Straight to the top. That's where you start.
Yeah, and usually pilots are into other pilots because they're alpha mentality.
This is my penis. I'm going to use it.
This is my
vagina. I have one of those. These are great. You have excellent breasts. Thank you so much. They are called breasts.
Have you watched the astronaut show on Apple? Have you
watched that astronaut show on Apple?
For All Mankind?
Have not.
Oh, you gotta watch. It's about female and male astronauts and fighter pilots and the whole program.
Have you seen Rick and Morty?
So
funny. It's funny.
No, this is about a female pilot.
She's not an astronaut.
Yeah, at the end of the day,
but
at the end of the day, maybe she's sick of flying, and all she wants to do is curl up with her logical boyfriend and watch some Rick and Morty.
So do you have the ability to fly jets? Because I know there's a whole different license for that.
Yeah, I have all this. I have commercial, multi-engine, all that type of stuff, and I do a little bit of flying to the Bahamas with passengers and cargo.
Can you be hired for a little, let's say, search and recovery? Search the Bahamas, recover some poon.
If you have the plane, let's do it.
Dude, get us a plane. We got a pilot.
So you could basically, if it's got wings, you could fly it.
Well,
this isn't an episode of MacGyver where his sidekick, sidekick comes in and goes, "Hey, MacGyver, if it's got wings, I can fly it." It's that fat guy with the head. I hated that fat guy.
No, she can fly. No, she's rated for prop and jet. That's it.
You just basically compared her to the fat guy with a leather jacket in MacGyver, who ended up being a bad guy. If you'll remember, I think in one of the episodes he turned his back on MacGyver for some money.
Let me ask you this: by yourself, if there's nobody, could you get on a 747, get in the cockpit, take off and land with zero instruction, just what you know now?
I do not think so. I wouldn't know how to.
Well, that's the difference between you and I, because I can do it.
Yeah.
I think you're selling yourself short, Mac. You can do it. You can get in there.
I guess
Maybe
we're
in
up.
the air, I could fly it in the air and maybe figure out how to land it, but I don't even know if I'd know how to start
Tom's
it.
in love.
no,
I've never seen
just
Tom
go-
defend a guest like this
know.
before. He's in love.
Throttle all the way down, pull up. So, you know what I'm saying?
I think there might be a little more to it than that. Tom.
It's like modern day. It tells you the computer's like
Yeah.
switch to switch.
You know, I'm going to trust the person that actually flies things.
Like,
on
for
this
instance,
one.
when Max
It tells
said,
you how to do it.
When Max said, when I'm flying planes, you're always on the edge of your seat, I was like, I've been on commercial planes. Those guys are they're doing nothing.
on TikTok.
They hit a button.
It's all
Those
autopilot.
planes are computers. So most companies, after 400 feet, they push a button and the plane flies itself the rest of the flight.
Okay, do you have to walk outside of your plane, and you have to take your goggles and put them on top of your leather hat, and then you got to go over to the propeller, and do you have to go like the Is that what you do?
Well, I do have a leather helmet, so I've got part of the image there, yeah. And it does have goggles on it.
That's
although
dope. I don't care who you are. Leather. You wear a leather helmet? That's
Yeah.
cool. Or really goofy.
Yeah. But no, these planes, it would be really hard to hand start them. So we actually have an electric starter. So we just push or flip a switch and the prop starts turning.
Pussy.
I know. Hey, but if it makes any difference, I do pull the prop through every morning. So I got some muscle.
No, it's really. I think
I work out.
everything that you do, and the fact that you
It's
do
impressive.
it with the vintage stuff, is like had you called it, and this is no knock on like modern day aircrafts, but there's something very, very cool about the fact that not only do you fly the older aircrafts, but you can hear the appreciation that you have for them, And unless people like you are out there training people to do it and flying them as a younger generation, then we're destined to lose some of this cool stuff. So,
So I've seen some other videos of planes and they may be just optical illusion where they're RC planes. It looks like it is a full-size plane, but they're flying kind of like RC planes where literally the prop is kind of acting like a helicopter and the body of the plane is hanging a little bit below, and it's like, and I'm like, what the hell? I've never seen that before. Is that just some sort of like they took all the weight out and it's all engine, or?
So airplanes have a thing called thrust-to-weight ratio. So the really powerful airplanes that have a huge engine and a huge prop, but they're not that heavy, can do stuff like that. So you guys might see, like in air shows, the extras and kind of those crazy planes that do like the really insane falling out of the sky flipping maneuvers. Their power-to-weight ratio is really high. So they can basically what's called hang on the prop. So that thing you guys are talking about, that's literally like where the propeller is acting almost as a helicopter blade and holding the plane up due to just its thrust and that it's not very heavy. Absolutely, there's planes out there like that. Yeah, this one not. This one would not.
Can you fly helicopters as well, or do you look down on them?
I can fly them. I don't have my license in them, but I can fly them. I have about 20 hours in a helicopter, and I do plan to do my helicopter license, but that's a totally separate.
Yeah, they won't let me do it because I'm on crazy
No, you
pills.
just don't tell them that.
They told me because I got about 2 years ago, or maybe even more than that. Now I got really into like researching helicopters. I was convinced that was the way to overcome my fear of flying. Which I just realized that overcome my fear of flying, I just needed to fly more.
Or Xanax and beer.
Well, have you ever been at the controls, or have you always just been a passenger?
I've only been a passenger on. Only been a passenger, and it's definitely a control thing. I think if I rode with you and you explained everything to me, like I was in Andrea's uncle's helicopter and I was not scared at all. And being with you, I bet you I wouldn't be scared because you'd be like, here, I'm doing this, and I wouldn't be scared.
I just thought of something, Mac. Would you take me up on a plane?
No, she's going to take me up.
Well, I have a specific thing I need. I saw on Travis Pastrana's Instagram, like some Red Bull pilot friend of his took him in on like some Cessna, and he got his kids in the back, and they were doing basically zero G maneuvers where they were just like diving down and his kids were floating like they were getting the like the vomit comet. They get that like the zero gravity.
Oh, let's do that.
And I was like, oh, he's giving the kids the zero gravity. Could you, if we go up, could you give my kids the zero gravity?
Well, I can give one of your kids at a time the zero gravity. Absolutely, it's a 2-seat plane, so yeah, we could go up there and float them a little bit.
I don't know if your wife's gonna let just one of our listeners.
It's Mac.
Little Mac. Hey, Mike Tyson's punch out.
Look at my credentials. I promise I'm trust. I've taken a lot of kids up.
I trust you with my life already. I'm not joking. I just from talking to you, I trust you with my life and my family's life.
There's no way I'm putting my daughter on Pizzagate Airlines.
I could hear the confidence in your voice. I know you're an ace.
Yeah, she is pretty stone cold.
Yeah. You're good. You're a logic woman.
I think I'd like to see you and your boyfriend make love because I bet it's very, very by the book, and I bet you there's no mistakes made. It is like literally.
Right.
It is literally from gear up to landing. It is spot on perfect. Have a Gatorade.
Yeah, we're calculating out the different angles and figuring out the Pythagorean theorem. The lights are on.
And it's all journaled. You got to write it down in the book to make sure. Yeah, you got to.
We got
flight log.
We got to adjust.
You don't have dreams, and then you get mad at your boyfriend after, right? Like you don't cry very much, right, Mac?
No. But I do have a weird thing where I don't know if you guys have this. There's a trigger that you can figure out in your dreams where you know you're dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of you guys have that where you can figure out you're dreaming because of a certain thing?
Well, I usually turn over. I'm like, wait a minute, Andrea's still here. Not dreaming.
I don't even have dreams, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my trigger is if in the dream I cheated on him, I know I'm dreaming.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Too logical.
Yeah, I know. I like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Matt
do
controls
that.
her dreams.
You're like, this is not my behavior. It must be a dream.
Obviously. Let's walk around for a little while.
Well, Mac, thank you. Let's. We got to ask the question. I'm not sure if
you got too excited with your new love. You didn't want to ask her the question.
What can someone make as a flight instructor? I don't know, like the stunt pilot. Do you get paid for that?
If you go do air shows, I don't do air shows, but obviously getting paid to instruct people to do those type of tricks. So the way that I get paid is it's per flight hour, so I make about $50 per flight hour. So we're motivated, obviously, to get as many students and fly as much as possible because that's how we make our money.
Awesome. And where do you teach? Throw out a plug for yourself, and if anybody wants to learn, because I'd like to learn from Mac.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, our company's name is Warbird Adventures, and we're based out of Kissimmee, Florida, and we're just down at the Kissimmee Gateway Airport, and we're open Monday through Saturday, 5 to 9, and we also have a museum.
That's awesome. Why haven't I ever known about this cool place?
I know, right?
Yeah,
it's great for kids and stuff. You guys all come down.
Definitely. Go check it out. Hey, Mac, you have been, and I was, looking through the chat room, you've been one of our most favorite guests, and I would love to have you back on sometime, or maybe go out there and walk around and maybe do a go-to show or something. Or
yeah, maybe you take us up in an old World War II warbird.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Absolutely, and if one of you guys did decide to fly one of the World War II planes, everything is videoed and the audio is all there. So,
that's amazing.
All your reactions when you're turning upside down, it's all recorded.
That's crazy.
I will make no reaction.
There is.
Can you make me pass out? Because I think I could fight that.
Remember Jesse James?
Well, I don't want to make you pass out. But if the goal is to make you throw up, I mean,
it's already been done.
I don't throw up.
You remember Jesse James from West Coast Shoppers? He did a video where he got in a plane.
Yeah. And he thought it was tough.
He held it. They were like, "We're going to make it," and he stood there with no emotion. Remember, this is a man who banged a Nazi. He's no emotion. He's sitting there. He's just sitting there, and then he just goes. He just closes his eyes and falls asleep. That's it. I was like, this is boring.
I like the fact that he didn't do it, and he did it, but it was just like anticlimactic.
He's just like, good night.
All right, Mac, we'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Sounds
All right.
good. Thank you, guys.
Thanks again.
ya.
Be well. Take care.
Also, follow her on Instagram. It's Fly with Mac on Instagram.
Oh,
She's
cool.
the cutest thing ever, right?
Yeah.
How cool is she? Also tough. I shouldn't say cute. She'll beat me up.
She's
Yeah,
ripped,
yeah.
dude.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I mean, you can hear it in her voice. There's a certain level of like extreme intelligent confidence there where you know that she knows her stuff. I almost cursed. You know she knows her stuff.
I think that's the like type of logic woman that Logic Man's looking for. He told me he's
we
like,
need
I
to introduce him to Mac, but sorry,
Yeah,
Mac's
you already got it,
taken,
yeah.
already got a pilot.
by a pilot.
Oh,
Yeah. Because,
Don't tell Andy that. He'll be sad. He'll be
knows
looking at pictures of Mac.
Yeah.
He goes to Kissimmee.
He should have become a pilot. That's where.
He'd be perfect.
That's where it's at. Like Skydivers 2, Gen X.
Yeah. Who do you think? Oh, look at me.
Big Al got
Hey,
dreads.
who do you think you are? Snoop Dogg? Fly a plane.
All right, bye. So, if you like a couple things. If you were trying to learn a language, you have no base. Like, say you want to learn Mandarin Chinese, right?
Oh, that's gonna be hard, man.
So, first, how long could a normal person expect to learn that? I know you mentioned 6 months to 2 years before you become social, but that seems like a way harder. Just because I've been around Spanish, like I feel like I learn Spanish faster than Mandarin Chinese. That's one question. Second question is, are different people's brains wired differently and they can accept and learn a language faster?
Well, that's a great question.
Because of the way their brain, like some people have better hand-eye coordination and the other,
So is there like a Michael Jordan of language, just a guy that's made for learning languages?
Or just like certain humans' brains it makes it easier for you to learn a different language.
Absolutely. So I'll address that question first. There is such a thing as having a high language aptitude. Some people have just like a keen sense of listening skills. For example, my youngest daughter, she can understand, and she'll hear someone speak Portuguese and she'll say, "Mommy, that's not Spanish," or "Mommy, you didn't pronounce this sound correctly." And she would pick up on those little nuances of language. Whereas my daughter, my oldest daughter, has a kind of more like logical brain. So she thinks in patterns and she thinks in everything has to be systematic.
That's all.
So for her, language is segments, and she doesn't listen to the nuances of pronunciation. She just listens to maybe grammar or structure, and something like that will click for her differently. So there are different brains when it comes to language learning. Personally, I would say if I had to suggest or make a recommendation for someone, I would say really get to know how you are as a learner, how you learn the best, what sort of environment you need to be in to be able to facilitate your learning development, and put yourself in that predicament, put yourself in that situation so that you can learn the best possible way. So, for example, I know personally that I like that human interaction when I'm learning a language. Like softwares do one thing. They can help give me a nice little baseline. But at the end of the day, I want to be able to have a teacher where I can say, hey, am I saying this correctly? Or if I was trying to express this idea, would I say it this way? I'm an interpersonal learner. I need to talk to people to be able to develop any sort of skill and language, and that includes language.
Yeah, and you might want to fine-tune your questions. I was thinking about this. You answered my question before I got to ask it, because it's like guitar. You can try to learn guitar online, but it's never going to be as good as if you're sitting with a person who can say, well, why don't you move your hand here, or why don't you move that middle finger just like maybe just a centimeter to the right? That'll get rid of that buzz. Like the little nuances are only going to get there when it's human to human, and it looks like we're getting closer to that, which is nice.
Well, Jalitza, you brought up another thing that I started saying, like when the Google Translate started getting better and better, and then you started being able to translate different languages instantly through an app. I started to think like, oh, well, gone are the days of people learning different languages because the computer is going to translate everything for us. So no need to learn anything.
Right.
Which I was like, yes, and stop learning. But then I spoke to a businessman that he'd learned language because he learned Spanish and Chinese because that was best for his like import export or whatever. And when I was telling him, like, oh, with the apps and Google Translate, like, you don't need to. And he's like, nothing is a substitute for that human interaction you get speaking to another human in their language. It will never be like an app or a computer program will never be a substitute because that connection that you have is good for business, good for human interaction, and you're not going to get the same thing from an app. Do you agree with that?
I agree. I completely agree. In fact, knowing that I speak English and Spanish, I've put in some stuff on Google Translate just to see what I get. And some of those translations, as a native speaker of Spanish, I would say, what is this? This makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
And then we also have social language. Like we have idioms. And I would tell you, I have students that want me to teach idioms, and I usually don't get into that because they're so culturally driven that me growing up in New York City, we had idioms over there that I didn't know any of the ones from the South. And, maybe if you're a farmer, your idioms are very different.
Right.
When you start throwing idioms out about cows and chickens, and I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, and there's
a lot of tell me in English.
Yeah, there's a lot of little ones. Like I had a guy that was cursing me out on Xbox last night, and I believe he was Brazilian, and he said K, and they said ja 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 ja, because he just shot me in the head in Red Dead Redemption, and it was a ja 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 all J's and all the K, and I got the ja ja, and I knew what that was. I was like, that guy is laughing at me. He is really getting me good.
So, Scotty, I'll ask you this question. If you want to get involved, learn a language, what's the first step?
Well, I would visit our website, ocls.info/language.
We deserve that.
And that'll take you right to all these language resources. And there, we've only honestly scratched the surface here of all the different resources that we have available. So that would be the first step.
There you go. Hit up the website that we started the segment saying incorrectly.
By the way, I have multiple papers in front of me that Samantha gave me, Travis Butler. It all says .info, and then I wrote underneath them .org.
Are you serious?
Because I was like, I know better than this paper.
Nothing's going to stop me from getting this wrong. Dr. Wu-Tang said if I set my mind to this, I can get this segment wrong, and it's .org, because she told me if I just have to dedicate myself to failing.
Also, she's like, well, some people hear the phonetics of the language better, some people the grammar.
Yeah.
I'm like, what if you don't have both?
I would say then my suggestion is practice, but practice only the things that are meaningful to you.
Nothing means anything.
Something that you're going to use. It
I'm
doesn't
lazy
matter.
too.
Okay.
I would share with you guys. I have plenty of students over my years. I've been teaching English as a second language now for about 18 years.
Oh my God, that's a long time. You don't look that old.
I'm a little old.
No, you're not old. No, man, you're not this old. This is you're not that. That's when English is your first language.
I started my first year of teaching school. I was 19. I was a full-time teacher by 19. So
wow.
One of the things that students they get really fixated on, what does this word translate to? And then my question to them is, well, if you've never seen an elk and you've never had to refer to an elk in Spanish, then who cares what an elk is called in Spanish? Just learn it in English. It's an elk, or it's a moose, or whatever the case may be. And so and get away from that fixation of having to translate. Some things are not transferable. We don't have necessarily a language for it. And and I try to explain to students, listen, elks don't exist in Puerto Rico. They don't exist in Mexico. So we're not necessarily going to have a word for this. And it's happened time and time again with different people. I had a student that came from Egypt, and she was stumped by an armadillo. I show her a picture. She's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "It's an animal. It's an armadillo."
It's a road mummy.
And she kept asking me, and she was like, and then she finally says, "We don't have this in Egypt." And I said, "Okay, well, we have it in America, so we're going to call it an armadillo, and then we're not going to be concerned with translating. So only learn the things that are meaningful to you. If you're not into animals, who cares what the animals are called? Learn the things that are meaningful to you. Use that as your base. Build a solid base, and then branch out from there."
See, that's why you need Julissa teaching you.
Yeah, this is awesome. Man, I love you as a guest. This is phenomenal, man. I'm loving this.
It's
also, you tripped me up with elk because you said Spanish, and I was really trying, and I went L And then I was like, elk.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, it's an elk in English, and so I've gone through some vocabulary where we're reading.
I just made a horrible joke. It was elk.
And my students are all fascinated. They're like, "What is that in Spanish?" I'm like, "I have no idea."
It happens a lot too. Yeah, that happens a lot. Like with supernatural stuff or like superheroes. I'll be watching a show, or my daughter will be. There's this one channel that we like, and it'll flip over to like a Spanish kids show, but it'll have like certain characters, and they'll be talking in Spanish, and they'll say things like Spider-Man or Superman. They're not going to make a
El Hombre Araña.
Yeah, they don't really make. They just kind of leave it what it is. You know, it's like, well, if the character's Shrek, then he's Shrek. He's not like a Spanish version of Shrek. You know, I mean, so I
had a joke recently. I said, I told my 15-year-old. I said, so I have a riddle for you. Do you know why in Spanish we call Spider-Man El Hombre Araña, but Batman just Batman? And she goes, yeah, because Batman has no superpowers. And so, and I'm like, there's really no remote reason like that. We just choose to keep some words like that. And
yeah,
if it's a name, we don't have to translate a name.
Yeah.
You just keep it the way it is.
Yeah,
what
it's proper. Leave it alone. Yeah, it's a proper noun at that point. I like it.
And also, the end game is that we communicate. So that's really the most important
focus.
And
if you can't figure out Batman when I'm pointing at it, then we got a problem. We got a huge problem.
Well, Jalitza, Scotty, thanks so much. It is amazing what you guys offer in our community that's available for people.
It keeps piling up. Like every time you guys come on, we are very lucky that we get to share with our listeners one more great thing that you guys offer for them and for our community, and hopefully they're all taking you guys up on all this great stuff.
I mean, there's really no reason to go to college anymore. I mean, honestly, if you wanted to, you could get all the information at the Orange County Libraries.
There is a different path.
To be clear, the library is not advocating college. But thank you guys for your ongoing support. We very much appreciate it.
Why do I feel like it's ending today?
We appreciate what you've done for us.
Bye-bye.
And thank you. I can see you writing the email, and thank you in your future endeavors.
And I'm just saying that to be nice because I'm pretty sure you've done nothing for us.
Yeah, I've seen all of those when I worked for iHeart. I saw all the emails that come through. Like, effective today, Tom and Dad are no longer in the building. Their emails turned off. Their pass cards are turned off. Good luck to them in their future endeavors. Hey guys, thanks so much for the time, and we will definitely let's see if we can get the
by the way,
one more time.
During the conversation, I went to ocls.org and it just reroute you to info, so you can go there and you'll end up at the same place. It still works.
But definitely check out the Learn a Language page. Like, we have the Spanish one, we have the English. Definitely check out all the resources we have on there. In addition to having softwares, we also have like worksheets and links to different things that people can do just to start. There's a couple of videos on there if you're really interested in English articulation. Don't judge the video. It was my first time in front of the camera. So, just to get it, just to help people have something to take home and really practice. We really listen to what they want, and we try to give them a product that they can.
I love it. Well, you guys are the coolest. This is an awesome resource. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks so much, guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye. How bad did I embarrass you, buddy? Man.
I embarrassed myself and all of us, and especially Samantha.
I think you were the most.
Because it looks like I'm not preparing you guys for these interviews.
Yeah,
well, you're not.
I do that on purpose.
You're not. I want you to read these worksheets to me.
I'm not joking.
What happened the day when
all the information and I wrote down .org in pencil. It says it on the other papers, the right website.
How impressive were they? Right?
Yeah.
We get like the coolest guests from OCLS. I love it.
All the information Samantha gives me, I look at it and then I start writing down the stuff.
Wrong information.
You know what I looked at? I was mad because of how much ink she wasted. So I was furious.
Sorry.
I was like, who would do that?
I look at all the.
I was like, Butler must have printed this out. There's ink everywhere.
I look at Jalitza's bio with all her summary of what she did. They're like, I know what she's done.
You know nothing.
Oh my God. I could guess.
I looked at I fired them both up. I see Scotty up there. I see Jalitza, and I was like, who is that? I was like, who is that lady? When did she show up? Who is that? That's how I do it.
We're confused about everything. There's no way to live.
You should practice reading.
You should take the. Maybe you should take the class.
God, you know what? When I used to work for companies, I'd be like, my bosses are idiots. So now I know how everybody else feels. Now I feel bad for thinking that. Or do I feel bad? I just knew the truth.
Or you could just, be 1% better.
Yeah. Or just be like, I was right back then and I'm right now.
Embrace it.
They were idiots and I'm an idiot.
There you go. There it is.
There it is. All right.
I felt bad for Scotty. I need to figure out, okay, you guys talk this out with me because we're going to have to do this again.
Yep.
Should I pen Scotty in there, or should I just leave them unpinned so they'll go whenever people talk? Probably just do that, right?
I would do that.
Okay.
Yeah, because you do end up...
But sometimes it'll hang on Scotty while she's talking, and then so you hear a voice that'll just be a rando voice, and then you just see the guy.
Dude, I was watching this. Funny you mentioned this because I was watching some YouTube. Like my wife's been trying to go to bed earlier, right?
Yeah.
And so I have like an hour now.
Hard,
I can watch whatever I want. So now I'm watching YouTube. I'm YouTube gambling content, and I'm watching these shows, and they're like a lot of them are just Zoom content. So it's like 4 guys all looking at their screen, right? But he's talking to one and then the other, and the other guy hadn't been talking for 15 minutes, just sitting there. And then I become consumed with like this guy's just sitting there.
That's what happened in the Twitch chat. They were all consumed with Scotty.
Yeah, but I didn't want to do that to Scotty because I love Scotty. He's like an awesome dude, and I'm like, and he was just kind of sitting there, and like you don't know what you look like, really.
And you don't want to take him off because you feel rude.
But I did. I took him off, and then I felt relief. I saw relief in his eyes.
Yeah, because he sees himself.
I was like, he's glad. But then when I put him back in, it flung him to the right side and put the Tom and Jerry splat right over his face. I mean, the chat room was happy they got to see more of the doctor. I'm just saying.
All right. We'll be right back with more corporate time.
And we're back.
Psych. Bring the psych back.
I didn't look up the thing. I didn't think it was that long. So what should we do?
Couldn't stop talking to Jalitza.
No.
I was thinking about when she was like talking about those apps and how like
I'm gonna make an app where people share their pools.
No, I started thinking about. I was like, my God, imagine what. Who knows what I was telling the nanny through that app.
Oh my God.
I was just talking to her and show her.
Was it long conversations? Oh God.
Well, you know how his questions are, so I'm sure.
Yeah. You were good during that. I mean, there were a couple times. I don't know if you've noticed this lately, but sometimes while you're asking a question, I'll lean in and go like, "What do you think about that?" And like,
try to cut it short.
I like that.
Cut you off.
I like that.
With the assist.
But I get scared because I think you're going to punch me in the face or something. Because
it's like I throw a wild ball that's going to miss the hoop and you grab it, dunk it. I'm like, I meant to do that.
Well, I won't be dunking it. No. I will not be dunking it. More like I'm loading it into a mesh bag for later. Putting them in the back of my car, cleaning your basketball jerseys.
I don't know what that is.
No, you want to do a good job and you want to ask a proper question.
Yeah, but
so you want to get all the details.
Well, it's also your ADD, right? So you got like 5 questions in the chamber, and then instead of asking them one by one, you just like, I got to get them all out right now.
36 chambers, Dr. Wuhan. That's a different doctor. That's a different doctor. The Wuhan clan is a whole different rap group.
Yeah. It's like I asked the question.
Old dirty COVID.
And then I answer it, or I want to attempt to answer it while I ask it. I is stupid. My God. I see other people like real good interviewers, and they barely talk. They let the guests do the talking, and I'm like, man, that's
somebody. I was
like, it's way better too.
I felt bad.
I don't want to hear this idiot.
You and I were riffing, and I'm looking over the computer, and I see just Scotty and the good doctor, sitting there, and they're just like, when are these guys going to shut up? And I was thinking back in my mind, I was listening to an interview this morning of Andy from Opie and Anthony from Opie and Anthony, and he was talking about like how you should always let the person you're interviewing talk because your audience will get to hear you.
every
the
other
time.
day.
And all the time, and I was like, these are great points. Then these people get on the line, and I'm like, perform. What the hell's wrong with me?
I'll start talking
Idiot.
as they watch us, and we'll just start talking, doing the show, and then we're like, I guess we'll go to our guests, and then I'm like, I'll ask a long question, answer it for them.
With the wrong answer.
Yeah,
And
not
then
let
while
them-
you're doing that, I'm pinning and unpinning our contact who,
I don't know. That's not good.
I think it's working, though.
yeah.
I think
it's working.
I
It's
definitely,
working.
I can feel the level of English and Spanish raising in Orlando.
Okay, so this is true with my son.
Well, now we actually do have to go. Now you're going into a
No,
story.
he has time. We have 6 minutes.
Okay.
But make it 2.
No, I'm just saying, like, Tommy, he's been in this dual language program for 2 years, and then the nanny, all Spanish, so I bragged to you, remember? I'm like, they know Spanish fluently, they're business Spanish.
Well, they did know Spanish.
Business
Like, I've
Spanish.
seen them speak Spanish. I've seen them count in Spanish. I've seen them do all
Well,
that.
count. I mean, my Uncle Randy could do that. Like, uno,
Yeah.
dos,
Cinco de Mayo.
Dos cervezas!
Yeah. So I'm telling my friends, and and when Tony Munjet comes over,
You hate saying that, don't you? I said it to my wife last night. I said, I was talking to Tony Munjet about some guitar advice. She's like, who's that? That's a true story.
Tony Rage.
Making my wife look bad.
And then, when Tony comes over, I'm like, talk to my sons in Spanish. They know. And
They had no idea what he was saying.
And he's like, hola, ¿cómo estás? He's asking about the disorder. They're like, I'm scared. My dad taught me to be scared. They don't know nothing. And I'm like, do the thing. And they don't know nothing. And I'm like, oh, God.
Okay.
What a waste of my life.
I try to give Maisie a kiss now in the mornings, or before she goes to bed, I go to give her a kiss. This is her new way of bullying me. So before she act like you're going to give me a kiss from there. Don't lean in, but just act like you're going to give me a kiss. I'm leaning in, and I'm Maisie, and she goes,
Oh, she holds her breath.
hold her breath. So she's like, your breath smells disgusting. She can't say disgusting.
Yeah.
She just bullies
I think
me.
we do have a old man breath.
So she holds her breath before she kisses me.
Smells like
Those boiled eggs you had yesterday.
like boiled eggs and hot beer.
We bought new one. It smells like
It smells like
Did you spill orange juice on your jeans? That's what it smells like.
You want some hot beer, bro? And there's like
Sometimes there have been times I've gone to kiss my wife, and I'm like, whoa. I was like, what have you been drinking? Ham? Holy crap! I can't kiss you. Let's just sex it. You ever do that where you just sex it?
no
kissing.
never done sex.
Yeah, you gotta just sex it, no kissing. That's called porn star experience.
Yeah. Why is that one less expensive?
I don't know.
Like the girlfriend.
The world never knows.
All right. Bye. Welcome back to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. Samantha's here. Butler is here. The fish are doing well. It's Fringe, Orlando Fringe Week 2021.
Yep, and this gentleman has the honor of being our last official guest of Fringe
I'm
Week.
excited about this one, though. This one, I smell booze in this act.
Yeah, he's going to talk about his show, Dangerous When Wet, Booze, Sex, and My Mother. Jamie Brickhouse is here. How you doing, Jamie?
I am doing great. I'm thrilled to be here.
Appreciate you taking the time. Tell us. Well, I'll let you. You had something. You were
I was just
loaded.
From reading the description of the show, it's basically a one-man show based on your life, correct?
That is correct. It's actually based on a really, really good book. A critically acclaimed, award-winning book, my memoir.
Okay.
Of the same title, which came out a few years ago. And right before it came out, I started performing as a storyteller on the Moth. And I'm based in New York, and there are a lot of
and you've won a lot of...
Yeah, I've won a lot of the slams there. And then I became a storyteller in New York and performing all over. And I was doing a lot of stories adapted from the book, and I thought, after about a year after the book came out, I thought I've got enough here. I could turn this into a show, and that's what I did. And I've been touring it around hither and yon since then.
Is it different? Would you say there's a difference between just possibly telling a story and then turning it into a show and still telling the story?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you create any work of art, whether it's a book or a show, whatever, you've got to make choices, and some stories stay in and some don't. So I went through that process when I wrote the book. And okay, I drank for many years. I'm sober now, so it's a story.
Congratulations!
Thank you very much. But the great thing about being a drunk all those years is I had a lot of stories and a lot of funny stories and
going through that now.
Yeah,
and a lot of funny.
I'm still gathering my stories.
That's right. You're gathering material.
That's what I'm going to start calling my alcoholism: gathering stories.
Just gathering material. Gathering material.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so when I started writing, I was like, okay, there's this story and this story. And I was like, well, I can't. There's not room for all these, and I need to pick the best one that illustrates what I'm telling there. And then, so I went through that when I wrote the book, and then when I was doing the show, so adapting a 230-page book into a 60-minute or a 75-minute show, I've got 2 versions of that. I had to make some even, more crucial choices. And so I kind of whittled it down to, booze, sex, and my mother. And when I started writing the book, it was, I thought, I'm going to tell the story of my alcoholism through the prism of my relationship with my mother, Mama Jean. She was this over-the-top Texas tornado of a woman who loved me. Her love cloaked me like a cashmere and blanket in August. And but she never had a thought she didn't speak, and she was always in close up and the big hair and makeup and nails and driving a Cadillac and always done to a T. And so when I did the show, I had to cut out a lot in the book where I was still telling the same story. But it just, I had, kind of boiled it down to her, a couple of sex stories, about my sexuality and booze stuff, and then how she kind of saves me at the 11th hour.
So
I love it.
When let's go back to writing the book in the first place. When you write a memoir, I've heard this a lot from people that write biographies, books about themselves, where they write some stories. They're like, man, people are gonna get mad at this story, or I may offend someone with this story, or people in my life may not want me to tell this one. Did you go through any of those?
Oh my God, yes, absolutely, and I mean, it did help. People say, "Well, what does your mother think of that?" Well, she's dead. So that.
I was going to ask you that.
Spoiler alert.
I was going to ask you that because a lot of times these books get written once someone in their life does pass away, because you're like, all right, now I can tell the story without hurting her feelings.
And I actually had there had to be 2 deaths. Before I could write the book.
Okay.
Which was the death of my alcoholism and the death of my mother.
Whoa.
And
that's heavy, dude.
Yeah. And sorry to bring you down.
No.
There's a lot of comedy in here.
She
had a very funny death.
You were in the right spot. This is dark comedy central. You're in the right spot.
The best comedy comes from tragedy.
Absolutely. That's how you get inspired, man.
Yeah.
That's how you when you're staring at it, you got to look right at it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. But I wouldn't have. I didn't, and I wasn't even thinking while she was alive. I was like, I got to write this book, but I can't. I've got to wait for her to die. It wasn't like that. And but when I did write it, and people would ask me, how do you think she would react to the book, or what would she? She was a truth teller, so she. Even though there would be some things in there like, you didn't have to tell that story. Well, my God, you didn't have to tell the story about sleeping with the dwarf. I mean, come on. Which I do tell that story.
That sounds like an excellent story.
Yes, it was fun. It was a gay porno bookstore. It was great. Wonderful experience.
Man, I wish we were uncensored. Why?
I know.
Why on the radio?
I know. And you know what? Most of the blue talk is going to come out of Mama Jean's mouth more than mine. Some of the stuff where I get censored.
And maybe that's where you got your truth telling from. So based on you telling the truth in your book, I think she would probably say, she's probably glad she's not here to see it, but glad you're telling the truth.
Yes, that's exactly it. And
that's
she would have also said, you know what, I wish you didn't tell all those stories, but that's how it happened, and that was the way it was.
Also, it's a tip of the hat to her. If you are just being authentic, and that's how she was, well, you can't do any better, I think, to serve Mama's, psyche or her legend well than to use the parts that are like her to do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I really clunked that up, but you know what I mean.
And what part of Texas did you grow up in?
I grew up in Beaumont, Texas, which is southeast Texas, near the Louisiana border, near about 80 miles from Houston. They call it the Golden Triangle, but with the rusty winds of the corrosive winds of the Gulf of Mexico, I call it the Rusty Troika. And I grew up there. I would live there until I went to college in San Antonio, and then I moved to New York after that. And I've been in New York for 30 years. And I couldn't wait to get out of Beaumont. But I'm so glad I grew up in Beaumont because my parents had grown up there as well, lived their whole lives, and they were very social. So they knew everyone in town. I knew all these stories. There's just all these great endless stories that I'll probably never get to by the end of my life. But I'm working on it. And
I'm curious, was your mom a storyteller, and was she like?
Yeah, my mom and my dad. They were both funny. They both loved jokes. They would, before they loved to tell jokes. Remember the days when people told jokes?
This sounds a lot like my family. I think that's why I'm resident.
You really don't get that anymore. And then when email happened, people were forwarding jokes all the time. Like my mother was doing that in all caps.
My dad, it's all email for.
It just kind of killed it, because then it was like, and then you just kind of saw how offensive some of the jokes were, and not in a great way.
Email racist jokes.
Yeah.
I went through and I deleted all of those. That's not what I want to remember from my dad.
Maybe email killed the parents' generation's jokes.
Well,
because
I don't know. Did you have this? I remember going to we'd go over for a cookout. And I'd go over to the family's house, and all the men would be in the back corner with, their white label Mabels, and they'd all be circled up, telling dirty jokes.
Yeah.
And you would get to navigate into that, they'd be over grilling. It was just stereotypical. It just happened. And every party I'd go to, you'd have that. But then it did die somewhere along the way.
Well, my parents, I was along for the ride with them, and so they liked having me along, and I liked I liked being with the adults more than the kids. But so they would tell the jokes and stuff in front of me all the time, but they used to tell them to me just to see if I could get them. Like when I was in junior high. And he was like, my mother would say, Earl, that's my father. Earl, tell him that one. Oh, it's hilarious. He won't get it, but tell him. And then he'd tell it, and then I'd get it. And they were like, how do you know that? And And then to their mortification, I had this English teacher in 8th grade that I adored, and she was also young. And I would repeat the jokes to her. And when they found that out, they're like, oh! Then my mother said, you're not telling that story to your teacher. You didn't tell her that your mother says the C word. That kind of
I got sent home for telling a dirty joke at Presbyterian Day School. I tell the story on the show all the time. Yeah, I got sent home. My dad had to go and explain the joke to the principal, which was horrible. Horrible.
Did he laugh?
No. No. And my dad didn't either because Mom was... Well,
I did imitations, of all the teachers all the time, and I would perform it for my parents. And when I was in high school, I did one of the principal there, and she had this. And I later found out she had something wrong with her voice, so she had this quivery voice,
like Diane Rehm.
Yeah, exactly, Diane Rehm. I used to book a lot of authors on there. And, she'd say, "I'm so very excited." Which, of course, she sounded anything but.
It's a great voice.
And so my mother had some parent-teacher conference with her. Oh, because she was disturbed at what I was writing. The principal was.
You had one of those meetings.
Yeah, and so my mother went up there, and she had never met her before. And she started talking, and my mother just got tickled and started laughing. And then
laughing at her face.
She said, "I'm sorry, but Jamie does an impression of you, and he sounds just like you."
That's so awesome.
So it sounds like your mom was basically kind of wild. Just said whatever she wanted. Yeah.
She said whatever she wanted. I say she has a thought she never had a thought she didn't speak.
Yeah. And have you always been an entertainer?
No, I did theater, when I was growing up, and a little bit in college, and had some stand-up comedy in my early 20s. But I didn't seriously pursue it, and I thought, I don't know, I can't do it, or blah blah blah. And I got into a career in publishing when I moved to New York, and then the publishing career and my drinking career took off, so I didn't have time to perform or write for a while. And then when I got sober, or started to get sober, because it took me a little while, in 2006, I started writing again, and then when a year after she died, after Mama Jean died, I enrolled in a writing workshop and started a memoir.
Nice.
That became Dangerous.
So you were
Wet.
writing before then?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
even with the alcoholism, you were. Could you tell an instant difference in like the clarity of your writing?
Oh no, I wasn't writing. For
you
many
weren't
years.
writing at all.
In my 20s, excuse me, I did some freelance writing and some stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And then I worked in publishing. I mean, I wasn't drunk all the time. You know,
Right.
I excelled in my job, and you know, and I was writing press releases, but I wasn't writing.
Those are
creative
hard.
Stuff. Yeah,
my wife does that.
and
so it's very hard.
you know, and I had a successful career in publishing and all that. And I was a functioning alcoholic, you know, for many years until I wasn't. And then when I got sober, I eventually left publishing and started my own company, Red Brick Agency, which is a speakers bureau where I represent mostly authors for lecture engagements. And at that time, I had been in the writing workshop, and I've been writing in the memoir about a year or so. And when I started my business, so that I could have the freedom to do my own stuff. And so I did the book, and then that's when the performing came back. And that's when I discovered the moth and started becoming a comedic storyteller.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting where people's like I guess idea of what an alcoholic is, like, you know, because sometimes it's
I think it can take on a lot of different forms.
you know, I mean, by the book, I'm an alcoholic. You know, as far as like, you know, if you're just reading the thing, it's like, oh, well, more than one drink a day. Like,
well, if by the book you are,
but it's like, but then of course you're like, whatever, it's not that bad. A couple drinks here or there,
Yeah.
and then obviously it gets better and worse. It depends on what your definition is, and then there's the people that drink like when they have to wake up in the morning because to function, and then everybody.
It becomes medicine.
Society deems that. Like, I think society look at that person like, oh, that's an alcoholic. And if you have a drink every night, or if you're like on the weekends, you just get obliterated, blacked out, drunk, and then you know it starts affecting your life, and then all these things. So, what was the? Because everybody's journey's different. What was like the final straw for you? Was it a particular situation, or was it just like, hey, I'm ready for a change?
Well, I don't talk about this one in the show. I talk about it in the book, but I did joke for years that I was a functioning alcoholic, you know, and I'd be like, I was one of those alcoholics who, you know, constantly referred to it, and like we'd be on vacation and drinking, you know, around the clock, after this, I'm going to go to the Betty Ford Clinic, and
where there's like truth and jest, right?
Yes, and for me, and then. I guess the first, it was like early 2000s, I had a couple of drinks after work that turned into 13, which had happened many, many times.
Oh, yeah.
And then ended up, you know, looking for drugs and doing drugs, you know, and blah, blah, blah. And I got home the next morning on a work day and thought, I can't do this anymore. I've had enough. So that was my first time. And I had a former boss who was a big drinking buddy of mine who got sober while I still worked for him. And I called him, and he came to my home he left his office and came to my apartment.
That's a good friend.
And talked to me, and then I went and I started to get sober, but it didn't last. And then I drank, and then because I decided, you know what? I went to those meetings, and I was like, these people, they're very nice, but they need friends. I've got friends. I don't need a place to talk about my problems. I know that I drink too much, you know. And if it gets as bad as what they're talking about, you know, then I'll come back. Well, you can't. The joke of that, the cruel joke, is you can't. When it gets that bad, it's beyond your control, and it already was. And so I drank for a few more years, and it got worse. And I got fired from a job, and you know, and then was obsessed with suicide. And then I started becoming one of those everyday or morning drinkers. I was been an everyday drinker for years, where I had drank in the morning often, not always, but enough, you know. And then it got really dark, and I got fired from a job, and was devastated about that because I always been the best little boy in the world, straight A's, always excelled and promoted and all that kind of stuff. And then I became suicidal, and you know, and I attempted suicide with an overdose of pills. And my partner, Michael, now my husband, he's a saint. He stuck with me all these years. And then that was, you know, I talk about this in the show. And then that was my bottom.
Now this was a test to the chat room. You guys didn't type one thing. You didn't say one word during that entire compelling story.
Yeah.
Which proves to me you were doing a little soul searching.
Everybody's looking at themselves. Yeah.
Look, it's just science. It's just your brains. While he was telling that extremely compelling and honest and candid story, everyone shut up because you're like, oh my God, is that me?
Yeah.
And you get selfish when people are talking real. I think most people do that. Thank you for sharing that. That's great. But I'm glad you're sober.
Sure. Well, I am too.
That's
and
amazing.
my mama Jean was too, and she was
Michael,
always,
shout out to him for being awesome.
She was always on to me about my drinking, and
Really?
it was always which is why she plays a big part in this story that I'm telling. And so she was. She wanted me to stop drinking a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then plays a big hand in me getting sober, both wittingly and unwittingly.
What a great this sounds fantastic. I'm excited to see this.
And we don't got that much time.
Yeah,
but
I know.
when you brought up after work, one drink turned to 13, and you're looking for drugs, like that.
Oh, and I found him too.
You'll always find him.
He was crazy.
Isn't that crazy how that works out? I've been looking for drugs before, and it's amazing you can find drugs.
Yeah. Well, there's always an area of town. There's drugs there. For sure.
And those
You'll
of us
never
that
not
like
find
drugs. We know where those areas are. It's weird.
They'll never be out. It'll always be there. But it's like people that have like a healthy relationship with alcohol or no relationship, like Andrea, for instance, like Daniel's wife.
She's a unicorn.
She'll never understand.
And a saint too.
Like,
We gotta bless our saint.
She'll never understand this. You went to Applebee's for a happy hour beer, and then all of a sudden you're looking for cocaine near the Citrus Bowl. She's like, how does that happen? And you're
something.
like, it spirals fast. And it's like that one drink turns into 13.
And then it's party mode.
And then it's
real
full party. And then it's like, some people just don't even understand how they could never do that. It's not possible to them. But
how did that happen?
A real one from my wife. She called me one day.
But it's easy.
You and I had been drinking, and she's like, how can you and Tom go to the wing place and get 5 60-ounce beers?
Yeah.
Obliterated. And then how did you get home? Don't talk about it. And that's bad. You shouldn't do that.
Or like
by 2:30. He's right. We started 11.
You're at the airport bar, and we have
I miss airport bars.
5 gigantic double
what are those?
vodka cranberries or whatever, and then justify it, be like, we're flying, it's fine. It's just like the incredible amount of alcohol that people that drink and to people that don't drink, they can't even.
Well, you know how you order drinks on the plane, right? 2 gins and tonic. Because you never know when the flight attendant is going to get back around. So I always ordered at least 2 of the drinks. I said 2 gins, 1 tonic.
Yeah. Or you start you start with a beer and a shot. You need the shot to prime the pump. The shot is to keep my hands from shaking, and then I'll be fine from there. But you start to realize, and as time goes on, you're like, man, this is drinking poison here. I'm poisoning myself. It can't be good. Last question. Did you notice, like Daniel said, your mind is clearer? It has got to be.
Oh my God!
After,
yes. Yeah. And I'm just present. I
oh my God, that's perfect.
Which sometimes sucks because
my wife says that.
Then you're ever present in a bad situation. But I mean, I'm the world is crystal clear. For better and worse, and usually for better. And
I like that.
I'm not. And God, I was hungover all the time. I mean, just to not have a hangover, anymore.
Mornings can feel good. You don't have your hand over the toilet. You're like, oh God.
The one for me is like being able to pee without having my hand on the wall.
Just your head hanging low, just in case you lose it.
Proper posture.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I know our chat room is completely stoked. Plus, they love a good fancy ring, like a statement ring. Like they're just talking.
I got this in Acapulco, which is where I lost my virginity in a 3-way. Also in the show.
That's a hell of a way.
I love Acapulco.
I want a
Tickets
three-way.
available orlandofringe.org.
Oh my God.
I want a three-way ring.
Wait a minute.
Dangerous when wet, booze, sex, and my mother. You're going to have to check this out, man. Green venue, $12 all the way through the 30th. OrlandoFringe.org for all tickets and changes. Get your button first. That's how you do it.
Yep.
I think I did it right that time.
Yeah.
And
How'd I
there's
do?
more than
Sounds good.
theater. There's more than theater. There's the outdoor stage and the beer and booze tent.
Yeah.
Come on out. Have some
Apparently
drinks.
everybody's down there. Yeah.
Kid friends.
I have
It's
10
amazing. It's
invites to
great.
go down to the beer thing tonight. I'm like, is
Yeah.
there room down there?
Yeah, everyone's being socially distanced. We've expanded
What's the beer
live
thing
music every
tonight?
night. The beer tent is where we have a big party every night.
All right.
Come
You guys
on
have
out.
Tapzilla down there, right? No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Free music on the outdoor stage. Come on out. Kids
Yep.
Fringe in the weekends. Good
Awesome.
times.
And sober people are welcome too. Right?
Yeah.
Oh,
We
great.
have tons of zero-proof cocktails.
Just-
Our
they're-
new bar managers.
They
have
can
done
be
some
less
awesome stuff.
problematic at the end of the night.
Yeah.
They're great
Yeah.
people. We love those sober folks.
Jamie, thanks so much.
Yeah,
man.
thanks for coming in. Compelling story, and we love it.
Thank you. This
Is
has
it-
been so much fun.
Is that it for
Yeah,
us today?
that's it.
Unfortunately, that's it for us. Follow us on YouTube where you can see a replay of this video. Just search for Tom and Dan live on the YouTubes.
Yep, all the shows. Also, Twitch has all the shows as well. So thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.